Have you ever felt like you're drowning in the chaos of your thoughts? Like the more you try to control them, the harder it is to find peace. What if I told you there's a hidden treasure inside you, a peace so profound, so unshakable, that it could change your entire life? Imagine for a moment, walking through life weighed down by fear and perfectionism, only to discover that the key to liberation lies not in fixing the world around you, but in simply letting go of the fight. This is the story of how the ancient wisdom of Buddhism can guide you to deep, restful sleep and the serenity you've been searching for all along. What happens next will shock you, and it's a lesson that could transform your nights forever. If this speaks to you, hit that subscribe button on Buddhism in every moment to support the channel and give us the motivation to continue creating life-changing content like this. In the stillness of the night, when the world outside falls silent, there is a battle waging within. The thoughts, racing and relentless, refuse to cease. You've tried everything from warm milk to counting sheep, but nothing seems to quiet the storm inside your mind. You lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, your body weary but your mind wide awake. Sleep feels like a distant dream, slipping farther away with each passing minute. In today's world, we are surrounded by constant noise. From the moment we wake until we close our eyes at night, the chaos of life fills every corner of our minds. Emails, phone notifications, work deadlines, and the weight of our responsibilities, they come crashing in like an unstoppable wave, leaving little room for rest. And in those rare moments of quiet, it feels as though we've forgotten what peace truly is. This is where Buddhism enters. An ancient practice, passed down through generations, offering a timeless solution to the modern struggles of insomnia, stress, and a busy mind. The wisdom of Buddhism is not just about philosophy, it's a practice, a way of life that holds the potential to transform our very being. It teaches us how to navigate the turbulent waters of life, to find stillness in the chaos, and to embrace the peace that is always waiting for us. But how does this ancient wisdom help us sleep better? The answer lies in mindfulness, the art of being present. It's about learning to let go of the worries that cling to us, letting go of the distractions that keep us from experiencing peace. It's about learning to rest, not just our bodies but our minds as well. This journey is not just a lesson in Buddhist teachings. It's an invitation to transform your relationship with sleep. Imagine falling asleep, not as a result of exhaustion, but because your mind has been trained to embrace the silence, to release the thoughts that hold you captive, and to welcome the tranquility that awaits you. This is the heart of Buddhist practice, mindfulness in every moment, including the moment when you lay your head down to sleep. As we embark on this journey together, you will learn to quiet the noise of your mind. You will discover how to bring peace and healing into your sleep, allowing it to become a time for restoration rather than struggle. Through the teachings of the Buddha, you'll be guided to understand the nature of your thoughts and emotions, and how to embrace them with compassion and mindfulness. Throughout this video, we will explore life-changing Buddhist teachings that can help you find peace, not only in your waking hours but also in your sleep. These teachings offer tools for relaxation and healing, helping you to experience a restful night's sleep and wake up feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, and at peace. It is not just about learning a set of ideas or doctrines. It's about applying this wisdom in your life. The teachings you will hear today are an invitation to transform your life by bringing mindfulness into your sleep, to create a space of peace where you can truly rest, physically and mentally. As we take this journey, know that it is not about perfection. It's not about achieving the perfect night's sleep, but rather learning to embrace the practice of letting go. It's about surrendering to the moment, trusting in the process, and allowing your mind to settle into the quiet space of peace that exists within you. In a world that constantly demands more from us, it's easy to forget that true peace doesn't come from external sources. It comes from within. And in the quiet stillness of the night, when you allow yourself to be fully present, You can tap into that inner peace and experience the healing and rest that your body and mind so desperately need. The first step on this journey to restful sleep is to open your mind to change. Imagine your mind as a busy river, constantly flowing, never still. Thoughts rush by like waves, crashing one after another, each one louder and more intense than the last. This is the reality for many of us, especially when we lie down to sleep. The world is silent, yet our minds are loud. But Buddhism teaches us that we don't have to be prisoners of our thoughts. We don't need to fight against the current. Instead, we can learn how to navigate the river with ease, allowing the waves to pass by without becoming swept away by them. The practice of mindfulness, central to Buddhist philosophy, is the key to this transformation. Mindfulness is the act of paying attention, not just to the world around us, but to our own internal world. It's about bringing awareness to the present moment without judgment or attachment. This is the foundation for everything we will explore in this journey. When we can train our minds to stay in the present, without being pulled into the past or the future, we find that peace naturally arises. In the context of sleep, mindfulness allows us to observe the racing thoughts without identifying with them. We can watch them, like clouds passing across the sky, knowing they are transient and will soon be replaced by stillness. By practicing mindfulness before sleep, we can train our minds to settle, creating a peaceful mental space that invites deep rest. Acknowledge the modern struggles. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the modern struggles we face. The world today is faster and more connected than ever. With constant notifications, work demands, and personal challenges, it's no wonder so many people find themselves lying awake at night, unable to find the peace necessary for restful sleep. The pressure to be constantly productive, to meet deadlines, to stay connected, it all takes a toll on our mental and emotional well-being. In fact, insomnia has become a widespread issue, affecting millions of people worldwide. Stress, anxiety, and the overwhelming pace of life often keep us in a constant state of hyperarousal, making it impossible for our bodies and minds to relax. The more we try to control our thoughts and fix our minds, the harder it becomes to achieve the peace we so desperately need. But here's the thing. In our effort to control everything around us, we often forget that peace is not something to be achieved or obtained. It is something to be realized, and it is already within us, waiting to be discovered. Buddhism doesn't ask us to control the mind, but to observe it. By practicing mindfulness, we learn to witness the stream of thoughts without being swept away by them. The Buddha taught that suffering arises when we resist the natural flow of life. When we cling to what is pleasant and push away what is unpleasant, we create friction in our minds. But what if we could simply let go of the resistance? What if we could allow our thoughts and emotions to flow freely without judgment? This is the essence of Buddhist practice, and it is the key to finding rest. Setting the tone for peaceful sleep. Now, let's set the tone for a peaceful journey. Tonight, as you lie in bed, I invite you to take a deep breath and close your eyes. Imagine yourself in a place of calm, a sanctuary where nothing is expected of you. There is no need to fix anything, no need to strive for perfection. In this moment, you are simply allowed to be. This journey is an invitation to embrace silence, the kind of silence that doesn't just exist outside of you, but within you. It's a moment where you can release the weight of the day, the burdens of your thoughts, and the pressure of your responsibilities. You can let go of everything that doesn't serve you in this moment and allow yourself to rest fully, without the need to prove anything. The teachings we will explore are not just philosophical ideas or abstract concepts. They are invitations for transformation, for real change in how we experience our lives and our sleep. They are tools for healing, for bringing peace into our hearts and minds, so that we can experience the profound rest we need to live fully and with vitality. The purpose of the journey. The purpose of this journey is to help you fall asleep not through exhaustion, but through mindfulness. The Buddha taught that true peace comes not from controlling the world, but from understanding it and ourselves. Through the practice of mindfulness, we can cultivate an inner stillness that allows us to rest deeply, without the constant chatter of the mind. This is the essence of Buddhist wisdom. Peace is not something we seek outside ourselves, but something we find within. In this video, you will be introduced to life-changing Buddhist teachings that can help you create a peaceful and healing environment for sleep. You will learn how to bring mindfulness into the moment of sleep, to observe your thoughts and emotions without getting entangled in them. As you begin to integrate these teachings into your nightly routine, you will find that sleep becomes a time of restoration, not struggle. Through mindfulness, we can break the cycle of racing thoughts and emotional turbulence that often keeps us awake. Instead of fighting to fall asleep, we will learn to welcome sleep with a sense of ease and trust. The more we practice mindfulness, the easier it becomes to let go of the day's stress and rest in the present moment. A closing invitation. As we embark on this journey together, know that this is just the beginning. The teachings you will encounter are not just about sleep, they are about life itself. By bringing mindfulness into your sleep, you will begin to experience more peace in every moment of your life. I invite you to continue this journey with us. Let these teachings become a part of your daily practice, and allow them to guide you towards deeper rest and greater peace. Together, we will discover how to transform the act of sleep into a time of healing, restoration, and mindfulness. Part 2. The Buddha's first noble truth: understanding suffering. We all experience it, whether we acknowledge it or not, the feeling that something isn't quite right, something that lingers in the background of our thoughts, a discomfort that we can't quite put our finger on. It might be a sense of restlessness or unease, or maybe a more tangible feeling, like the anxiety of a busy day finally catching up with us when we try to sleep. In these moments, we know something is out of balance, but we can't pinpoint what it is. The Buddha, over 2,000 years ago, spoke of a similar feeling in his first noble truth. This truth is often described as dukkha, which is most commonly translated as suffering. However, when we approach this concept with the intent to truly understand it, we find that dukkha isn't merely the intense pain we associate with suffering, the grief from loss, the sorrow from heartache. Dukkha is much more subtle, and its reach is far broader than we may realize. Dukkha, as taught by the Buddha, is not just suffering in the traditional sense of physical or emotional pain. It is the friction we feel when we resist life's natural flow. Imagine the feeling of trying to push against a strong current. You can feel the tension in your muscles, the energy you're expending, and the frustration as the water continues to push you back. This friction is the mental equivalent of that feeling, a resistance to what is happening, a discomfort that arises when our minds and hearts fight against the inevitable. What is this friction really? It's when we resist the natural unfolding of life. It's when we want things to be different than they are, when we want to avoid discomfort, prolong pleasure, and control outcomes. The more we struggle against the current, the more we create suffering for ourselves. This is not just an abstract Buddhist teaching. It's something that shows up in our lives every single day, often in the most unexpected ways. For many of us, this friction manifests most acutely in our sleep. When we lay down at night, the silence should provide a respite, a chance to rest, but instead, our minds spin faster than ever. We toss and turn, unable to escape the cycle of thoughts, worries, and anxieties. This is where the Buddha's teachings are especially relevant. Dukkha, or suffering, is the result of our mind's inability to navigate the inevitable fluctuations of life with grace. When we cannot handle the natural ebb and flow of thoughts and emotions, we create friction within ourselves. It's not that life is inherently painful, it's that we often struggle with what is. Take a moment to reflect on this. How often do you resist your own experience? How many times have you found yourself laying awake at night, anxious about the day that's past or worrying about the day to come? How often do you wish that your mind would just stop, that you could find peace and quiet even for a moment? The truth is, our minds often refuse to stop because they are not trained to do so. The Buddha's first noble truth, in its deepest sense, invites us to examine how we contribute to our own suffering through our resistance. Practical application for sleep. Let's take a closer look at how this concept applies to one of the most common struggles we face: getting a good night's sleep. Sleep, in many ways, is a perfect reflection of our internal state. When we are at peace with ourselves and with the world around us, sleep comes naturally. But when we are stressed, anxious, or distracted by thoughts, sleep becomes elusive, even if our bodies are physically tired. The mental and emotional friction that we carry into our beds is a direct result of this resistance. When we lie awake at night, unable to sleep, it's because our minds are in conflict with what is. We might be reliving a conversation from earlier in the day, obsessing over something we didn't do, or worrying about something we can't control. Our minds race through 1,000 scenarios, none of which are serving us in that moment. This friction makes it impossible to rest. But mindfulness, the very essence of Buddhist practice, offers us a way out of this cycle. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to the present moment, without judgment, without resistance. It's about learning to observe our thoughts, feelings, and sensations without identifying with them. When it comes to sleep, mindfulness can help us break the cycle of restless thoughts. By simply noticing the thoughts that arise without getting tangled in them, we begin to create space. This space allows the mind to settle, to rest, and eventually to sleep. Here's how mindfulness can help with sleep. The next time you find yourself lying awake, racing through thoughts that seem impossible to quiet, try this simple exercise. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and allow yourself to simply observe the thoughts that come up. Don't try to change them or make them go away. Just observe. This is a thought about the past, or this is a thought about the future. Acknowledge them without judgment and then gently return your focus to your breath. This practice, when done consistently, trains the mind to release its grip on the constant stream of thoughts. With time, you will find that you no longer identify with every thought that arises. You will realize that your thoughts are not who you are, they are simply passing clouds in the sky of your awareness. Just as clouds come and go, so too will your thoughts if you don't try to hold on to them. This is the first step toward freeing yourself from the friction that prevents restful sleep. Another helpful practice is to focus on your body. When we lie in bed, our bodies often hold tension from the day. This tension contributes to the mental friction we feel. Before you go to sleep, try a body scan starting from the tips of your toes. Work your way up through your body, paying attention to any areas of tension. As you breathe, imagine releasing that tension, allowing your body to relax deeply. The more relaxed your body becomes, the more easily your mind will follow suit. Mindfulness as a path to restful sleep. When we apply mindfulness to the act of sleeping, we are not just trying to fix our inability to sleep. Instead, we are embracing a deeper understanding of our relationship with our thoughts and our bodies. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from craving, from clinging to things as if they are permanent. Sleep, too, can become a source of craving. We become obsessed with the idea of sleep, thinking that it is the solution to our problems. But in doing so, we create more friction, more resistance. Instead of striving for sleep, mindfulness teaches us to allow it to come. We let go of the need to control it, and in doing so, we create the space for it to arrive naturally. The Buddha's teachings remind us that peace is not something to be chased after. It's something that arises when we stop resisting and simply allow ourselves to be. When we let go of the need for sleep to happen in a specific way, we release the tension that keeps us awake. We stop fighting against the natural rhythm of our minds and bodies. In that space of acceptance, sleep can finally take root. The nature of resistance. It is essential to recognize that resistance itself is a form of suffering. The more we fight against life's flow, whether it be in our thoughts, emotions, or circumstances, the greater the friction we create. This resistance can manifest in many ways. The desire for things to be different than they are, the refusal to accept discomfort, or the inability to let go of control. The more tightly we grip onto life's outcomes, the more we find ourselves trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction. Think about it. How many times have you struggled to sleep because your mind refused to rest? Perhaps it was because you were replaying events from the day, worrying about the future, or even fixating on the idea that you must fall asleep in order to function the next day. This is a perfect example of resistance, the mind insisting on control, on having things unfold in a certain way, which ultimately leads to the very suffering we seek to avoid. This is the subtle nature of suffering as outlined in Buddhism. Suffering is not merely the pain we experience from outside forces, but the mental friction created by our resistance to what is. And this is why it becomes so important to recognize how our internal world shapes our experience. When we resist the natural ebb and flow of life, we create a barrier between ourselves and the present moment. And it is in the present moment that peace resides. The struggle with sleep, a reflection of life's resistance. Now, let's zoom in on sleep itself. The struggle with sleep is often a reflection of how we handle life's challenges in general. Just as we fight to control our circumstances, our thoughts, and our emotions during waking hours, we do the same when we lie down to rest. The mind races, trying to fix problems or anticipate the next day's challenges. But this is where mindfulness can make all the difference. Mindfulness doesn't ask us to force our minds to stop racing or to eliminate all the thoughts that arise. Instead, it teaches us to observe them without judgment, to see them for what they are: fleeting, impermanent, and ultimately inconsequential. The more we practice mindfulness, the more we create space between ourselves and our thoughts. And in that space, we find the ability to let go. This process of letting go is what allows us to release the mental friction that keeps us awake at night. Here's a practical application. The next time you lie in bed, instead of forcing yourself to fall asleep, bring your attention to your breath. Focus on each inhalation and exhalation. When thoughts arise, and they will, simply notice them without becoming attached. You might say to yourself, "This is a thought, nothing more," and gently guide your attention back to your breath. It's not about eliminating the thoughts, but about giving them less power. By doing this, you begin to loosen the grip that your mind has on the process of sleep. The power of acceptance in sleep. One of the most powerful aspects of the Buddha's first noble truth is the teaching of acceptance. We cannot control life's ups and downs, and we certainly cannot control the natural flow of our thoughts and emotions. But what we can control is how we relate to these fluctuations. Instead of fighting against them, we can learn to accept them as part of the process. This is especially important when it comes to sleep. Many people lie awake, thinking that if they don't fall asleep quickly, they will suffer the next day. They resist the experience of wakefulness, creating stress and anxiety around sleep. But what if, instead of trying to force sleep, we simply allowed it to come? What if we allowed ourselves to rest, even if we weren't asleep yet? Acceptance in this context doesn't mean resignation. It means letting go of the need to control the outcome. It means trusting that, as long as you practice mindfulness and embrace the present moment, sleep will come when it's ready. In fact, it is often the very resistance to sleep that prevents it from arriving. When we let go of the expectation that we must fall asleep, we create the space for sleep to happen naturally. A mindful approach to sleep. Buddhism teaches us that everything in life is impermanent. Just as thoughts come and go, so does sleep. It is not something to grasp onto, but something to welcome with open arms when it arrives. This is the beauty of mindfulness. It allows us to surrender the need for control and instead create a peaceful environment for rest. To cultivate this mindset, practice this simple exercise each night. As you lie in bed, bring your awareness to your body. Notice any areas of tension, and with each exhale, imagine that tension releasing. Visualize your body becoming lighter, more relaxed, as if you were floating on a gentle wave. When thoughts arise, acknowledge them with kindness and return your focus to your breath. Allow the act of breathing to become the anchor that holds you in the present moment. This practice is not about forcing sleep. It's about cultivating an environment where sleep can naturally occur. When you let go of the struggle, you allow your body and mind to enter the deep state of rest they need. Breaking the cycle of restlessness. The cycle of restlessness is born from the resistance to what is. When we refuse to accept our thoughts, when we try to suppress or control them, we only intensify the struggle. This is why sleep can feel elusive. It is not the external world that keeps us awake, but the internal world we have created through our resistance. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from our attachment to things, our craving for things to be different. When we crave sleep, when we obsess over falling asleep, we tighten our grip, and the very thing we desire slips further away. But when we let go of that craving, we release the tension that keeps us awake, and peace can settle in. Mindfulness helps us break this cycle by allowing us to acknowledge the presence of thoughts without attaching to them. It's the act of being with our thoughts, not trying to fix them. And by practicing this on a nightly basis, we can break the cycle of restlessness and create a peaceful mind that is ready for deep, restful sleep. In the end, the Buddha's first noble truth is not just a theory, it is a practical guide for living. By recognizing the friction in our minds, the resistance to life as it is, we can begin to free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. And when we bring this understanding into our sleep, we learn to release the mental friction that keeps us awake at night. Through mindfulness and acceptance, we can create the space for rest, healing, and peace. Sleep is not something we need to fight for. It is something we can gently invite into our lives. And in that invitation, we find the peace we have been seeking all along. Part 3. Mara's story, the fear of imperfection. Mara was renowned in the village of Sedona, Arizona, not just for her skill, but for the beauty she wove into every tapestry. She worked with threads of every color, spinning patterns so intricate they seemed alive. People would travel from miles away to admire her work, to see how she could make such beauty with nothing but thread in her hands. Mara had a reputation as a master weaver, and it was a title she carried with pride. Her tapestries spoke of the vibrancy of life itself, of nature, of love, of sorrow, and of joy. Her work was praised as nothing short of a reflection of the soul. But there was a hidden darkness that accompanied her skill. For every piece she completed, another sense of anxiety began to creep into her heart. At first, it was subtle, a passing thought that perhaps her next piece could be just as perfect as the last. But over time, this thought grew into a consuming fear. It was no longer just about weaving. It was about her entire identity. Each day Mara would sit down at her loom, fingers itching to create, but instead of excitement, she felt dread. The threads before her began to feel like an overwhelming task, not the medium for her creative expression. She stared at the empty loom, paralyzed by the expectation she placed upon herself. What if this tapestry isn't as good as the last one? She would wonder, the fear gnawing at her from the inside. What if I fail? Mara had once felt a deep sense of joy and freedom in her craft, but now it was tainted by the constant pressure to maintain perfection. What had once been an art, a passion, now felt like a cage. The loom that had been her greatest tool now felt like her greatest enemy, threatening to expose her imperfections. The fear of failure began to paralyze her to the point where she couldn't even begin. This fear, deep-rooted in her mind, grew as her reputation did. She had been known as a weaver of unmatched skill, and the more she heard this praise, the more impossible it became for her to create. Each new piece she attempted felt like a test, not just of her ability but of her worth. Her mind became cluttered with thoughts of inadequacy. What if I can't do it? What if I am no longer the artist I once was? The weight of this fear took its toll. Mara would spend sleepless nights obsessing over every flaw, every mistake. Her hands trembled, her heart raced. She would tear apart her work, start again, only to be met with the same feeling of dread. She was so afraid of creating something imperfect that she could no longer create at all. This fear paralyzed her, turning what was once an expression of beauty into a torment. But it wasn't just her art that was affected. As the days went on, Mara found herself withdrawing from others, from her community. The fear of not being good enough leaked into every part of her life. Conversations that used to bring her joy now filled her with anxiety. She felt that every word she spoke was being judged. Every action she took felt like a mistake waiting to happen. She had become so consumed by the fear of imperfection that she had lost the ability to truly live. The lesson of letting go. It was on one of these sleepless nights, when Mara felt the weight of her fears pressing down on her chest, that she decided to take a walk. She wandered through the quiet streets of Sedona, her thoughts spinning, her heart heavy. It was then that she stumbled upon an old woman sitting by the side of the path, her face serene, her hands folded in her lap. The old woman had a presence about her, calm, grounded, as if she were part of the very earth beneath her. "Why do you walk with such a heavy heart, child?" the old woman asked, her voice soft and kind. Mara, surprised by the stranger's question, paused. She sat down next to the woman, and for the first time in days she felt the weight of her thoughts begin to loosen just a little. "I don't know what to do," Mara confessed. "I am afraid. I can't create anymore. My hands tremble and my mind is full of doubts. What if I am no longer the weaver I once was? What if I fail?" The old woman looked at her with a knowing gaze, one that seemed to pierce through the layers of fear and self-doubt. "Child," she said gently, "you are not your craft. You are not your perfection. The threads you weave are not who you are. It is your heart, your being, that makes you whole." Mara listened closely, but the words felt like a distant echo. "But I need to be perfect," she said. "I have to create something flawless. If I don't, I am nothing." The old woman smiled kindly. "Perfection is a prison. The more you chase it, the further it runs from you. True peace is not found in perfection. It is found in letting go." Mara's heart tightened. Letting go. How can I let go? I've spent my entire life weaving, creating, crafting perfection. Without that, who am I? The old woman took a slow breath. "You are not the threads you weave. You are the loom itself, the space where creation unfolds. And the beauty is not in the perfection of the tapestry, but in the act of weaving it, in embracing both the beauty and the imperfection. Your fear is your guide, not your enemy. Let it be the thread that connects you to your humanity." Mara was silent, taking in the words. She had been so caught up in her need for perfection that she had forgotten why she began weaving in the first place, for the joy of creation, the expression of herself. She had become so consumed with fear that she had lost touch with the freedom she once felt in her craft. The old woman stood up slowly, her movements graceful and sure. "Go back to your loom, child. Not to create perfection, but to create with your heart. Let go of the fear that binds you, and the tapestry you weave will be more beautiful than you can imagine." Mara watched the woman disappear into the quiet night, her words lingering in the air like a soft melody. For the first time in days, Mara felt a glimmer of peace within her. She wasn't sure what had changed, but something in her heart shifted. It wasn't the fear that she had to fight, but the perfectionism. It wasn't the tapestry that needed to be flawless, but the act of weaving that needed to be embraced fully with all its imperfections. The lesson for you. Mara's lesson is one that we can all learn from. How many times have we been paralyzed by the fear of imperfection? How many times have we refused to begin something, whether it's a project, a relationship, or even something as simple as rest, because we feared it wouldn't be good enough? We've all been there, caught in the web of self-doubt, believing that perfection is the only thing worth striving for. But what if the pursuit of perfection is not the answer? What if, instead of chasing an ideal, we could simply allow ourselves to embrace the process, to create, to be, to live with all the imperfections that come with it? When we let go of the pressure to be perfect, we open ourselves to the fullness of life, and in that fullness we find peace. Just like Mara, we don't need to be defined by our fears or our need for perfection. We are not our mistakes, nor are we our successes. We are the space where both can exist. We are the loom, the vessel through which creation flows. And in that space there is no room for fear. Mara's journey is a reminder to all of us. Let go of the need for perfection and embrace the beauty in imperfection. Life is not about achieving flawless outcomes, but but about finding joy in the journey, in the weaving of our experiences, both light and dark, perfect and imperfect. So, to all who struggle with the fear of not being good enough, remember Mara's story. You are not your fears, nor are you your failures. You are the space in which both exist. Let go, and in that release you will find the freedom to live, to create, and to rest perfectly imperfect. The struggle with perfectionism in everyday life. Mara's story, while about her craft, is relatable in so many other aspects of life. We all have our looms, whether it's our jobs, relationships, personal goals, or creative endeavors. We invest so much time and energy into these pursuits, and the pressure to succeed or be perfect often clouds the joy of simply engaging in the process. We strive for flawless outcomes, an impeccable presentation at work, the ideal relationship, the perfect house, the perfect body, the perfect life. But the pursuit of this perfection often leaves us exhausted, drained, and ultimately unfulfilled. In trying to control every detail, we forget that life, much like a tapestry, is meant to have imperfections. These imperfections are not flaws. They are what make life rich, textured, and meaningful. The pursuit of perfection, though, is a trap. It keeps us from experiencing the present moment fully. Every time we focus on what could go wrong, on how things could be better, we miss out on the beauty of what is happening right now. We become so fixated on the end goal that we forget to enjoy the journey. And this creates friction within us, much like the kind Mara experienced, a resistance that only builds with time, leaving us paralyzed, unable to move forward. The act of letting go. The key lesson in Mara's story is the act of letting go. Letting go of the need for everything to be perfect, of the fear that failure will define us, of the belief that only flawless results have value. This lesson is liberating. The moment Mara let go of her attachment to perfection, she freed herself from the chains of fear. She embraced the unknown, the uncertainty, and found freedom in it. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means releasing our attachment to outcomes and embracing the flow of life as it is. It is about accepting that we, as humans, are imperfect, and that is perfectly okay. When Mara realized this, she was able to approach her craft once more, not with anxiety, but with a heart full of acceptance. The act of weaving became less about the finished product and more about the joy of creating, of being present in the act itself. When we let go, we stop judging ourselves. We stop holding ourselves to impossible standards. We stop being our harshest critics. We give ourselves the permission to be human. We stop fearing failure because we understand that failure is simply part of the journey, not a reflection of our worth. The freedom found in embracing imperfection. Mara's tapestry, after she let go of her fear, was not flawless. It was filled with threads that reflected her emotions, her struggles, and her humanity. And in that imperfection, it became her most beautiful piece yet. This is a powerful lesson for all of us. The beauty of life doesn't lie in perfection. It lies in the raw, unfiltered experience of living. It lies in embracing our mistakes and learning from them. It's easy to think that perfection equals success and that failure equals defeat. But the reality is that imperfection is where true growth happens. We learn more from our mistakes than from our triumphs. We grow stronger in the face of challenges. When we let go of the need for perfection, we free ourselves from the heavy burden of unrealistic expectations. We make room for creativity, for spontaneity, and for peace. The lesson of letting go of perfection is not just a lesson in art. It's a lesson in life. It's about allowing yourself to be seen in your full, authentic self, flaws and all. It's about accepting that you are enough just as you are. In this acceptance, you create space for peace, for rest, and for genuine joy. And when you approach your life, your work, and even your sleep with this attitude, you open yourself to a new way of being, one that is free from the anxiety of perfection and full of the richness of the human experience. The invitation for you. Mara's story is a mirror, reflecting the challenges many of us face. The fear of imperfection, the pressure to succeed, the constant striving for unattainable ideals, All of these things keep us from experiencing peace. They keep us from embracing the present moment and fully living. But the good news is that just like Mara, we too can let go of these fears. We too can embrace our imperfections, our humanity. We can find beauty in the journey, not just in the destination. We can create with our hearts, not with the weight of expectation. And in doing so, we will find freedom, the freedom to live fully, to sleep peacefully, and to rest in the knowledge that we are enough, just as we are. Let go of the need for perfection. Release the fear that holds you back. Embrace the imperfection in yourself and in life. In this, you will find the beauty and peace you have been seeking all along. Just like Mara, you too can find the joy in the process, in the weaving of your own tapestry. And in that joy, you will find the rest your body and mind long for. A final thought. The fear of imperfection can be a heavy burden to carry. It holds us back from the very things that can bring us peace, our creativity, our relationships, and yes, our sleep. But when we learn to let go of the need for everything to be perfect, we free ourselves. We free ourselves to experience life in its fullness, to embrace the beauty in all its forms, and to rest in the knowledge that we are enough, just as we are. Mara's story is a story of liberation, a reminder that we do not need to be perfect to be worthy. Embrace the imperfections in yourself, in others, and in life, for it is through imperfection that we find true beauty and peace. Part 4. The power of acceptance, embracing life's flow. In life, we often find ourselves caught between extremes, the desire to experience all the pleasures of the world and the need to withdraw from it all in search of peace. The Buddha, however, offered a path that transcends these extremes, a middle path that leads to a balanced life. This path, known as the middle way, invites us to live in harmony, embracing life's flow without falling into indulgence or self-denial. The middle way is not about rejecting the world or denying ourselves the joys it offers, nor is it about seeking pleasure at every turn without considering the consequences. It is a path of balance, a way of living that honors both the material and spiritual aspects of our lives, recognizing that true peace comes from moderation, not excess or deprivation. This is a profound teaching that, when applied, can bring about peace in every area of our lives, including our mental and emotional well-being. The middle way, a path of balance. The Buddha's middle way is a guiding principle that emphasizes moderation in all aspects of life. It is about finding the balance between indulgence and asceticism, between being too tight with oneself and being too loose. It teaches us that neither the pursuit of pleasure nor the rejection of pleasure leads to true happiness. Instead, it is the acceptance of life as it is, with all its ups and downs, joys and sorrows, that brings about lasting peace. In the world today, we are often pulled in different directions. On one hand, we are encouraged to indulge in the pleasures life has to offer, to work hard, play hard, and seek constant gratification. On the other hand, there is the pull to retreat from the world, to live a life of simplicity and self-discipline, denying ourselves the very things that bring us joy. The middle way shows us that neither of these extremes is the answer. The Buddha himself experienced both extremes. As a young prince, he lived in luxury, surrounded by pleasure and comfort, only to find that it left him feeling unfulfilled. He then sought the opposite, extreme asceticism, starving his body and pushing it to the brink of death, believing that self-denial would bring him peace. But neither of these paths led to true liberation. It was only when he found balance, the middle way, that he attained enlightenment. This lesson is one we can all apply to our lives. In every area of life, we are faced with choices that pull us toward extremes. We are bombarded with messages that tell us to strive for perfection, to seek pleasure without restraint, or to reject the material world entirely. But true peace comes from finding balance, from embracing life in all its forms, without clinging to pleasure or running from discomfort. When we live in balance, we cultivate a sense of inner harmony. We stop fighting against life's natural flow and learn to move with it, finding peace in the process. This balance affects not only our physical well-being, but also our mental and emotional health. It allows us to handle life's challenges with grace and wisdom, rather than reacting with fear, anxiety, or frustration. Balance and peace, especially in handling emotions. One of the most profound aspects of the middle way is its impact on our emotional life. Emotions, by their very nature, are constantly changing. Joy gives way to sorrow, excitement turns into fear, and peace can be followed by agitation. The more we resist this flow of emotions, the more we create suffering for ourselves. But when we accept our emotions without judgment or resistance, we create the space for them to flow naturally, without getting stuck in them. The Buddha's teachings encourage us to observe our emotions without identifying with them. Emotions are like passing clouds in the sky. They come and go, but they do not define who we are. When we are able to observe our emotions in this way, we stop letting them control us. Instead of being swept away by anger, fear, or sadness, we learn to respond with wisdom and compassion. This acceptance of our emotions is not about suppressing them or pretending they don't exist. It's about recognizing them, understanding them, and allowing them to pass without getting tangled up in them. This is where the middle way comes in. By finding balance between indulging in our emotions and repressing them, we learn to live in harmony with them. The Buddha taught that when we act with mindfulness, we can bring balance to our emotions. Mindfulness allows us to observe our thoughts and feelings without becoming overwhelmed by them. When we practice mindfulness, we create space between ourselves and our emotions, which allows us to respond with clarity and compassion, rather than reacting impulsively. Practices for restful sleep. So, how can we bring the teachings of the middle way into our lives, especially when it comes to sleep? Sleep, as we've seen, is often where the extremes of our emotions and thoughts come to the surface. Anxiety, stress, and restlessness tend to show up in the quiet of the night, and if we're not careful, these emotions can interfere with our ability to rest. But the middle way offers us a way to find peace, even in the midst of our busy minds. The first step is to practice self-compassion and acceptance. Before you go to bed, take a moment to acknowledge the day's events and your emotions without judgment. Perhaps you are feeling frustrated about something that happened at work or anxious about a future event. Instead of trying to push these feelings away, simply notice them. I am feeling anxious, or I am carrying stress from today, are simple acknowledgments that can help you release the grip of these emotions. By accepting them rather than fighting against them, you make space for peace to enter. Another key practice is mindful breathing. Before you go to sleep, focus on your breath. Inhale deeply, allowing your body to fill with air, and exhale slowly, releasing tension. As you breathe, imagine your body relaxing with each exhale. This mindful breathing practice helps to bring balance to your body's energy, calming your nervous system and allowing your mind to settle. If you find it difficult to sleep due to physical tension, try gentle stretches or yoga before bed. Simple movements can help release the tension stored in your body, helping you unwind and relax. Focus on the present moment as you move, without rushing or forcing your body into positions. This gentle approach mirrors the middle way. It is about being kind and gentle with yourself, allowing your body to move naturally without pushing it to extremes. Creating balance in the night. When you embrace the middle way in your life, sleep becomes a time of peaceful restoration, not a battle. Rather than fighting against your restless thoughts or trying to force sleep to come, you allow it to flow naturally. You accept whatever comes, whether it's a night of deep rest or a night of tossing and turning. By practicing mindfulness and acceptance, you create the conditions for restful sleep, free from the stress and anxiety that often accompany it. The key is to embrace the process, not the outcome. Sleep, like life, is a process. It may not always be perfect, but it is always an opportunity for rest, renewal, and healing. When we live in balance, we stop seeing sleep as a goal to achieve, but as a gift to be received. Living the middle way, embracing life's natural rhythm. Think for a moment about the natural world, the rhythm of the tides, the changing of seasons, the ebb and flow of day and night. There is a natural order to the world that flows effortlessly, without resistance. The trees do not fight the wind. The river does not resist its current. Similarly, we too must learn to align ourselves with the natural flow of life, rather than struggle against it. In our lives, we often find ourselves pulled in different directions. We may try to do too much, overexerting ourselves in the name of success or achievement. Or we might withdraw entirely, trying to avoid discomfort or the challenges of the world. But neither of these extremes leads to peace. It is only when we find balance, when we stop overextending ourselves and stop retreating into isolation, that we can experience true contentment. The middle way teaches us to embrace both the fullness of life and the necessary moments of rest. It is about acknowledging that we cannot have constant pleasure without pain, that we cannot always be on the go without needing time to restore ourselves. Just as the river must slow down to replenish itself before continuing its course, so too must we balance our efforts with periods of relaxation, reflection, and restoration. This balance is particularly important when it comes to our mental and emotional health. We live in a world that demands constant productivity, but this constant striving can lead to burnout, stress, and anxiety. The middle way encourages us to step back and ask, what do I truly need right now? Is it more work, more effort, or is it time to rest and recharge? Learning to navigate this balance isn't easy. It requires us to listen to our bodies, our minds, and our hearts. It requires us to become more aware of the internal signals that tell us when we're pushing too hard or withdrawing too much. And it requires us to cultivate the strength to let go of the need for control, to trust that everything will unfold as it is meant to. Mindfulness practices for restful sleep. When we apply the teachings of the middle way to our sleep, we discover that peace does not come from forcing ourselves to fall asleep or battling our thoughts. It comes from a place of acceptance, accepting our mind as it is, accepting our body's need for rest, and allowing ourselves to be at peace with the present moment. The first step toward peaceful sleep is to practice self-compassion. Before you lie down, take a moment to acknowledge everything you've experienced that day, both the successes and the challenges. Allow yourself to feel gratitude for the day's events, no matter how small they may seem. Recognize that everything you've done has brought you to this moment, and that you are worthy of rest, just as you are. Next, bring awareness to your thoughts. Instead of trying to control them or push them away, simply observe them. Notice when your mind starts to race and gently bring your focus back to your breath. As you inhale, feel your body soften. As you exhale, release the tension of the day. Mindfulness of the breath helps to calm the nervous system and prepare the body for rest. In addition to mindfulness, gentle physical practices can help balance your energy before bed. Simple stretches, yoga poses, or even a brief walk can help release tension that might be keeping you awake. The goal is not to exert yourself, but to allow your body to relax deeply, inviting the natural flow of energy to settle. This practice aligns perfectly with the middle way. It is neither excessive nor minimal, but just right for your body's needs. A particularly effective practice for rest is called body scanning. As you lie in bed, mentally scan your body from head to toe. Notice any areas where you might be holding tension, whether in your shoulders, your jaw, or your stomach. Gently breathe into these areas, imagining the tension melting away with each exhale. This simple practice of mindful relaxation allows your body to release the accumulated stress of the day and prepares it for sleep. Acceptance and rest. The secret to peaceful sleep. One of the greatest sources of mental friction at night is our resistance to the natural process of sleep. We may lie in bed, desperate for sleep to come, only to find that the more we try, the more elusive it becomes. This is where the middle way offers a profound lesson. Sleep does not need to be forced. It is not something to be controlled, but something to be embraced when it arrives. When we stop fighting against our inability to fall asleep and instead allow ourselves to rest, even if we're not asleep yet, we invite peace into our minds. By practicing acceptance, we let go of the expectations we've placed on sleep, and we give ourselves permission to simply be. In this state of non-resistance, sleep can come naturally, without the struggle. Accepting our imperfections is also key to this process. Many people lie awake at night thinking about the mistakes they made during the day or worrying about the things they didn't accomplish. But in doing so, they are resisting the present moment and creating unnecessary mental friction. The middle way teaches us to stop judging ourselves for our imperfections and to simply accept ourselves as we are. This acceptance allows us to rest in the knowledge that we are enough, regardless of what we did or didn't do. Mindful living, mindful sleeping. The teachings of the middle way are not just for sleep, they are a guide for life itself. By learning to live mindfully, we learn to sleep mindfully. This means we are not rushing through our days, constantly chasing the next thing and then expecting sleep to miraculously restore us. Instead, we approach each moment with balance and presence. We engage fully in our waking hours, and when it is time to rest, we allow ourselves to do so with the same mindfulness. Mindfulness is about being present, not just in our thoughts, but in our actions, our interactions, and our relationships. It is about being fully engaged in whatever we are doing, whether it's working, resting, or even sleeping. The more we practice mindfulness in our waking life, the more it will naturally flow into our sleep, helping us to find peace even in the most restless moments. A life of balance, a life of peace. Ultimately, the middle way teaches us that peace does not come from avoiding life's challenges or retreating from the world. True peace is found in balance, in embracing life's natural rhythm, in accepting our imperfections, and in letting go of the need to control everything. As we apply the teachings of the middle way to our sleep, we learn that rest is not something to be chased after. It is something that comes naturally when we allow ourselves to be present in the moment. When we practice acceptance, when we practice mindfulness, and when we allow our bodies and minds to flow with life, we open ourselves to the peace and rest we have been searching for. This is the power of acceptance, the power of embracing life's flow. By letting go of resistance, we find that we can rest deeply, sleep peacefully, and live with balance. We no longer need to struggle against life. Instead, we learn to live with it, to flow with it, and to find peace in every moment, including the quiet moments of sleep. So, as you lie down to sleep tonight, remember the middle way. Let go of the pressure, the expectations, and the judgments. Allow yourself to rest, to simply be, and trust that peace will come naturally, effortlessly, as you embrace life's flow. Part 5. Embracing impermanence, letting go of clinging. The teaching of impermanence. In the stillness of a quiet moment, when the rush of the day has finally subsided, there is an inevitable truth that echoes through the chambers of our hearts. Everything is changing. In Buddhism, this is known as anicca, the principle of impermanence. It teaches us that nothing in this world is permanent. Not our thoughts, our feelings, or our physical state. Even the world around us is in constant flux. The very nature of life is to change, to ebb and flow like the tide. At first glance, the idea of impermanence may seem unsettling. We are taught to hold on, to preserve what we value, to cling to what we love. Yet, the Buddha's insight into impermanence reveals a liberating truth. Holding on to anything, whether it's a memory, a relationship, or even our sense of self, only leads to suffering. The nature of clinging is simple yet profound. We cling because we believe that by doing so, we can control, stabilize, or preserve a fleeting moment. But in reality, this desire to hold on is the very source of our distress. Life cannot be controlled, and no moment, no emotion, no experience can ever remain unchanged. Imagine for a moment that you are holding a glass of water. The water is clear and calm, reflecting the light around you. You hold it gently, appreciating its stillness. But now imagine trying to grip the glass with all your strength, squeezing tighter and tighter. The water begins to spill out, slipping between your fingers, no matter how hard you try to contain it. The glass, once stable and calm, is now a source of frustration and tension. This is how we often treat our experiences. We cling to them trying to preserve the beauty, the comfort, or the pleasure they bring. But the more we try to hold on, the more we create tension and dissatisfaction. By resisting the natural flow of life, we disrupt the very thing we seek to control. The Buddha's teaching on impermanence offers us an alternative. It invites us to recognize that everything, every thought, every emotion, every sensation is a temporary phenomenon, a passing cloud in the sky of our awareness. By accepting this truth, we can release our attachment to what is transient, and in doing so find peace. The more we embrace impermanence, the more we understand that our experiences do not define us. We are not bound by them. We are the vast space in which they arise and dissolve. This teaching is especially powerful when it comes to sleep. We often struggle to sleep, not because we cannot find rest, but because we are desperately trying to control it. We cling to the idea of perfect sleep, a night of uninterrupted deep slumber. When sleep doesn't come as we expect, we become frustrated and anxious. This attachment to sleep, to the way we think sleep should be, creates the very friction that prevents us from resting. Letting go of attachments to sleep. Sleep, like everything else, is impermanent. Some nights sleep may come easily, flowing naturally like a gentle stream. On other nights, sleep may feel elusive, slipping away despite our best efforts. The more we chase it, the more we create tension in our minds and bodies, making it even harder to relax. The first step in letting go of our attachment to sleep is recognizing that we cannot control it. We cannot force ourselves into slumber by sheer willpower. Sleep comes when it is ready, and trying to rush it only leads to frustration and anxiety. Instead of holding onto the idea of perfect sleep, we must learn to let go, to allow sleep to come naturally, without resistance or expectation. So, how do we let go of this attachment? How can we shift our mindset from striving for perfect sleep to accepting sleep as it is? The answer lies in mindfulness, in bringing our attention fully to the present moment, without judgment or expectation. By practicing mindfulness before and during sleep, we can create the conditions for rest to come naturally. Mindfulness techniques for restful sleep. One of the most effective mindfulness techniques for sleep is to focus on the breath. Our breath is always with us, a steady rhythm that anchors us to the present moment. When we find ourselves unable to sleep, it is often because our minds are racing, consumed by thoughts of the past or the future. In these moments, the breath can be our anchor, gently guiding us back to the present. Start by lying down in a comfortable position. Close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath. As you inhale, feel your belly rise, and as you exhale, feel it fall. Bring your attention fully to the sensation of the breath entering and leaving your body. Let the breath be your focus, your only point of attention. When thoughts arise, as they inevitably will, simply notice them without judgment and gently return your focus to the breath. It's important to remember that mindfulness is not about stopping the thoughts. It's about observing them without becoming attached. Instead of trying to push the thoughts away or control them, simply acknowledge them as passing phenomena, like clouds floating across the sky. Thoughts come and thoughts go, they are impermanent. As you continue this practice, you may notice that your body begins to relax. The tension in your muscles begins to ease, and the racing of your mind slows. This is the power of mindfulness. It creates space for the body and mind to rest, to let go of the struggle, and to simply be. Another helpful technique is progressive muscle relaxation. Start at the tips of your toes and work your way up through your body, slowly tensing and relaxing each muscle group. This practice helps to release physical tension and creates a sense of calm, preparing the body for rest. As you relax each muscle, bring your awareness to the sensation of release. Let go of any tightness or resistance, allowing your body to sink deeper into relaxation. You can also practice a visualization technique. Imagine yourself lying in a peaceful, serene place, a quiet beach, a tranquil forest, or a gentle meadow. Visualize every detail of this place, using all your senses to immerse yourself in its calm. Picture the waves gently rolling in, or the leaves rustling in the wind. As you imagine this peaceful scene, allow your body and mind to relax even further. In this space of calm, sleep can come naturally. The power of acceptance in sleep. At the heart of these mindfulness practices lies the Buddha's teaching on acceptance. Acceptance is not about resigning ourselves to our current circumstances. It is about acknowledging reality as it is, without resistance or judgment. When we accept that sleep is impermanent, that some nights will be restful and others will be restless, we free ourselves from the pressure to achieve perfection. When we stop chasing after sleep, we allow it to come naturally. The more we let go of our expectations, the more we create the space for sleep to enter. This is the power of acceptance. It shifts our mindset from striving to resting, from controlling to surrendering. In every moment we have a choice. We can choose to resist, to cling, and to fight against the natural flow of life. Or we can choose to accept, to surrender, and to trust that everything is unfolding as it should. By practicing acceptance, we cultivate peace, not just in our sleep but in our lives. Embracing impermanence in sleep. Just as life is impermanent, so too is sleep. Some nights we may sleep deeply, others we may find ourselves tossing and turning. But if we embrace the impermanence of sleep, we can let go of the need for it to be perfect. We can find peace in the knowledge that both wakefulness and sleep are temporary, and that the moment we are in is exactly as it should be. When we stop clinging to the idea of perfect sleep, we begin to release the anxiety and restlessness that often prevent us from resting. In the space of acceptance, sleep can come naturally. We do not need to force it. We do not need to control it. We only need to be present, to trust, and to surrender to the flow of life. By embracing the impermanence of sleep, we open ourselves to the peace that comes with it. We stop struggling, and in that release, we find the rest we need. The importance of letting go. At the core of the Buddha's teaching on impermanence is the idea of letting go. The more we hold on to something, the more it tightens its grip on us. This applies to sleep as well. We often hold onto the idea of the perfect night's sleep, imagining that we must sleep in a particular way or for a specific amount of time in order to be rested. But this very attachment creates tension in our minds and bodies, making it more difficult to find the restful sleep we seek. Instead of clinging to a fixed idea of what sleep should look like, we can begin to accept sleep as it comes, whether it is a deep, uninterrupted rest or a night of tossing and turning. When we embrace the impermanence of our sleep, we release the pressure we place on ourselves to achieve something perfect. This release of attachment creates the space for true relaxation and deep, restorative rest. By recognizing that sleep, like all things, is fleeting and ever-changing, we begin to surrender our need for control. This surrender is not about giving up. It is about accepting the natural ebb and flow of our bodies and minds. When we let go of our expectations and release the need to force sleep, we open ourselves to the possibility of peaceful rest, free from anxiety and judgment. Releasing attachment to sleep, the path to peaceful rest. Letting go of the attachment to sleep doesn't mean we stop caring about our rest or well-being. In fact, it is quite the opposite. By releasing our grip on the need for perfect sleep, we actually create the conditions for better rest. The more we accept the natural rhythm of our bodies and minds, the easier it becomes to fall asleep and stay asleep. So, how do we practice letting go of this attachment? The first step is to stop making sleep a goal or an expectation. When we lie down at night, we often think, "I must fall asleep now," or "I will be tired tomorrow." This urgent thought only creates stress which can keep us awake. Instead, we can shift our mindset and see sleep as a gift, a natural process that will come when the body and mind are ready. One effective way to practice letting go is through mindful breathing. Before sleep, focus on your breath. As you breathe in, notice the sensation of air entering your lungs, and as you breathe out, let go of any tension or worry. With each exhale, imagine releasing the thoughts that keep you awake. Let them float away like leaves on a stream. This simple practice shifts your focus from trying to sleep to simply being with yourself in the present moment. As you breathe and relax, you allow sleep to arrive naturally, without the need for force or effort. Mindfulness techniques for letting go. Mindfulness is the key to embracing impermanence in our sleep. It is the practice of being present, observing our thoughts and sensations without clinging to them. When we lie in bed, we often find ourselves trapped in a cycle of thoughts, replaying conversations from the day, worrying about what tomorrow will bring, or thinking about everything we need to do. These thoughts create friction, making it difficult to relax. By practicing mindfulness, we can observe these thoughts without identifying with them. When a thought arises, we simply acknowledge it and then let it go. This is a thought about the past, or this is a thought about the future. By labeling the thought, we create distance between ourselves and it. We no longer see the thought as a part of who we are, but simply as a passing cloud in the sky of our awareness. This allows the mind to settle, creating the space for sleep to come. Another helpful mindfulness technique is the practice of body scanning. Starting from the tips of your toes, move your attention slowly up your body, noticing any areas of tension or discomfort. With each part of the body, breathe into it, and as you exhale, imagine the tension dissolving. This practice helps to release physical tension, allowing the body to relax deeply and prepare for sleep. By focusing on the body, you draw attention away from the mind and into the present moment, creating a sense of calm and stillness. If you find yourself still struggling with thoughts or anxiety, consider using a gentle mantra. Silently repeat a phrase such as, "I am here," or "let go." This repetition can help bring your focus back to the present moment, grounding you in the now and calming the mind. With each repetition, you reinforce the idea that you are safe, you are enough, and that sleep will come when the time is right, creating the conditions for restful sleep. The teachings on impermanence and letting go are not just about sleep, they are about how we live our lives. By embracing the natural flow of life and accepting the impermanence of all things, we create a life that is in harmony with the present moment. This acceptance allows us to release the mental and emotional burdens that often keep us awake at night, and to rest deeply, knowing that we don't have to control everything. When we approach sleep with this mindset, we create the conditions for restful sleep. We stop resisting the natural rhythm of our bodies, and instead we embrace it. We stop worrying about how much sleep we should be getting, and instead trust that our bodies will rest when they need to. The more we practice acceptance, the more we create the space for sleep to flow naturally, without the tension and resistance that often accompany it. In the same way, we can apply these principles to our waking life. We can stop clinging to our expectations, our plans, and our need for control. We can learn to move through life with acceptance, allowing each moment to unfold as it will. This doesn't mean we become passive or complacent. It means we trust the process, knowing that life is unfolding perfectly as it is. And in that trust, we find peace. Sleep as a natural process. Sleep, like life, is a natural process that cannot be forced. It is not something we can control or manipulate, but something we can allow to happen when we create the right conditions. By practicing mindfulness, accepting impermanence, and letting go of attachment, we give ourselves the gift of restful sleep. We stop striving for a perfect night's sleep and allow it to come naturally, as part of the natural flow of life. When we release the pressure to control every aspect of sleep, we can rest in the knowledge that sleep will come when it's ready. We can trust that our bodies and minds know how to rest, and by embracing impermanence, we learn to rest in the present moment. In the end, the teachings of impermanence offer us a profound way to live with ease and peace, even in the most challenging moments. By letting go of our attachments, whether to sleep or to any other aspect of life, we create the space for true relaxation, peace, and freedom. Sleep, like everything else, is temporary, but in that temporary space, we find the rest and renewal we need to live fully and with balance. So, as you lie down tonight, embrace the flow of sleep with an open heart, knowing that it will come when the time is right. Let go of the pressure and allow rest to wash over you. Part 6. Not Self, Anatta. understanding the illusion of a fixed identity. The concept of anatta. The Buddha's teachings are filled with insights that challenge the very way we perceive ourselves and the world around us. One of the most profound and liberating teachings is the concept of anatta, the doctrine of not-self. At its core, anatta challenges the deeply ingrained belief that we are separate, fixed, and independent entities. It teaches us that what we commonly think of as self is nothing more than an illusion. This is a radical shift in perspective. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to identify with a fixed sense of self. We are taught to see ourselves as individuals with unique identities. A name, a story, a personality, a history. We feel that I am is a permanent, unchanging reality. But the Buddha taught that this sense of self, the I that we cling to, is not real in the way we believe it is. What we call self is actually a collection of ever-changing processes, thoughts, feelings, sensations, and experiences that arise and pass away in each moment. The mind, body, and emotions we identify with are all transient, and none of them can be said to constitute a permanent, independent self. Our thoughts change constantly, our emotions fluctuate, and our bodies grow and decay over time. Yet, we often hold onto the illusion that there is a solid, unchanging I at the center of it all. The Buddha described the self as a collection of 5 aggregates: form, the physical body; feelings, emotions and sensations; perceptions, how we interpret the world; mental formations, thoughts and intentions; and consciousness, awareness of experience. These aggregates come together in a complex dance, but they are not the self. They are simply processes, constantly shifting, arising, and dissolving. There is no permanent entity that can be found within them. This understanding of anatta is liberating. It frees us from the need to defend and protect a fixed identity. When we recognize that the self is not a solid, permanent thing, we can begin to let go of the attachments that bind us. The ego, the sense of I, loses its grip, and in that freedom we find peace. Dissolving the ego's grip. The concept of anatta helps us dissolve the grip of the ego, that part of us that clings desperately to the idea of a fixed identity. The ego thrives on control, on labeling, on defining and categorizing. It creates boundaries, telling us where we begin and where we end. It holds tightly to the belief that we are separate from the world around us, and it feeds on comparison, judgment, and competition. The ego thrives on the idea that we are permanent, unchanging entities, that our worth is defined by our achievements, our appearance, our relationships, and our possessions. But the truth, as the Buddha taught, is that there is no permanent, unchanging self. There is no solid I at the center of our being. When we start to see through the illusion of the fixed self, we begin to loosen the ego's grip. We realize that we are not our thoughts, our emotions, or our body. These are just processes that arise and pass away. We are not our successes or our failures. We are not defined by what we do or what we have. This understanding allows us to let go of the need to control, to prove ourselves, and to defend our identity. When we let go of the ego's grasp, we experience a profound shift in how we relate to ourselves and to others. We no longer see ourselves as separate, isolated beings, but as interconnected with everything around us. We stop defining ourselves in opposition to others. We stop comparing, competing, and clinging to the fleeting aspects of life. Instead, we embrace the impermanence of all things and find peace in the present moment. The ego's grip on our lives often causes anxiety, stress, and restlessness. It leads us to seek constant validation, to measure ourselves against external standards, and to fear losing what we think defines us. But when we dissolve the ego and recognize the fluid nature of the self, we release this anxiety. We stop fearing change and imperfection. We stop worrying about who we are or who we should be. Instead, we can rest in the knowing that we are not fixed. We are fluid, ever-changing, and in harmony with the world around us. Breaking the illusion of control. One of the greatest sources of anxiety and restlessness in life is our need to control. We are taught from an early age to take charge of our circumstances, to shape our destiny, and to strive for perfection. We become so attached to the idea of control that we lose sight of the natural flow of life. This need for control extends to every aspect of our lives, including sleep. Think about it. How often do we lie in bed, trying desperately to force ourselves to sleep? We focus on the need to sleep, worrying about how much rest we're getting or how tired we'll be the next day. We try to control the process of sleep, pushing away the natural rhythm of our body and mind. And the more we try to control, the more elusive sleep becomes. This need to control sleep is rooted in the illusion of a fixed self. The ego tells us that we must have control over every aspect of our lives, including our sleep. We must sleep a certain number of hours in a certain way to be productive, to feel normal, to be successful. This constant striving creates tension in the body and mind, making it even harder to relax and fall asleep. The teaching of Anatta invites us to release the need for control, to let go of the idea that we must have perfect sleep or that sleep should unfold in a specific way. Just as we cannot control the ebb and flow of life, we cannot control the ebb and flow of sleep. Sleep comes naturally when we stop fighting against it, when we stop forcing it, and when we allow ourselves to be present with whatever arises. Instead of focusing on the outcome of sleep, we can focus on the present moment, on the experience of lying in bed, on the sensation of relaxation in our body, on the quiet rhythm of our breath. We can observe the thoughts that come and go without clinging to them or trying to control them. When we let go of the need for a fixed outcome, we create the space for sleep to emerge naturally. This is the power of letting go of control. When we stop trying to force sleep, we create the conditions for it to come effortlessly. We allow our bodies and minds to settle into a state of rest without the pressure of expectation. The more we practice letting go of control, the easier it becomes to sleep peacefully, without anxiety or resistance. The liberation of letting go of the fixed self. The liberation that comes from understanding Anatta is not just about releasing control over sleep. It's about releasing control over our entire experience. When we let go of the idea of a fixed, permanent self, we also release the need to control everything in our lives. We stop clinging to external achievements, material possessions, and even our identity. We recognize that none of these things can define us because we are constantly changing and evolving. This understanding allows us to live more freely, without the constant pressure to perform or prove ourselves. We no longer need to control every aspect of our lives because we trust that life will unfold as it should. We trust in the impermanence of our experiences, knowing that all things, both good and bad, are temporary. This trust in the flow of life brings peace because we no longer fight against what is. Instead, we flow with it. When we let go of the need to control, we also let go of the restlessness that comes from attachment. We stop clinging to the idea of a fixed self, and in doing so, we find freedom. We no longer fear change or imperfection. We embrace the ebb and flow of life, knowing that it is through this flow that we grow, evolve, and find peace. Applying Anatta to sleep and life. So, how do we apply the concept of Anatta to sleep and to life? It starts by recognizing that we are not defined by our thoughts, feelings, or physical state. We are not our anxiety, our stress, or our desire to control. We are the awareness that observes these experiences, the space in which they arise and dissolve. When we begin to identify with this awareness, rather than the fleeting thoughts and feelings that pass through us, we find peace. To apply Anatta to sleep, we need to release the need for control. We stop striving for perfection in our sleep patterns and allow sleep to come naturally. We focus on the present moment, on our breath, our body, and the quiet rhythm of the night. We observe our thoughts and feelings without becoming attached to them, letting them pass like clouds in the sky. And in that space of non-resistance, sleep can come effortlessly. As we apply Anatta to every area of our lives, we find that the more we let go of our attachment to a fixed self, the more peace we experience. We no longer cling to our identity, our successes, or our failures. Instead, we embrace the flow of life with acceptance and trust. And in this acceptance, we find freedom from anxiety, from the need to control, and from the illusion of a fixed, unchanging self. The Buddha's teaching of anatta is a gift, a reminder that we are not bound by our thoughts, our emotions, or our circumstances. We are free to experience life as it is without the weight of attachment. And in this freedom we find the peace and rest that we seek, both in our waking lives and in our sleep. By embracing anatta, we can let go of the struggle for control, the fear of failure, and the attachment to a fixed identity. In this release, we find peace in our sleep, peace in our waking life, and peace in our true nature. We are not our thoughts, our emotions, or our experiences. We are the awareness that holds them all. And in that awareness, we find the rest we need, not just at night, but in every moment. The illusion of control in sleep. One of the most significant ways anatta influences our lives is in our approach to sleep. Sleep is a natural process, a gift to our bodies and minds that allows us to recharge, to heal, and to restore balance. Yet for many of us, sleep becomes an arena of struggle. We fight against our natural rhythms, we resist the process of rest, and we obsess over the perfect sleep. In these moments, we are not merely struggling to rest. We are struggling against ourselves, against the idea that sleep should come in a particular way. The need to control sleep comes from the same place that the ego arises, the illusion of a fixed identity. We identify with the idea that we must be in control of every aspect of our lives. We think that the more we try to control, the more we can guarantee a specific outcome. But the truth is, this only creates more suffering. When it comes to sleep, the more we try to control it, the more we get in our own way. The mind becomes agitated with thoughts of how much sleep we need, or how perfect sleep should be, creating the very tension that prevents restful sleep from occurring. The Buddha's teachings on anatta remind us that the self is not a solid entity that must be preserved, but rather a fluid collection of changing experiences. When we let go of the need to control sleep, we allow ourselves to experience sleep as it is, impermanent, unpredictable, and naturally restorative. Letting go of our attachment to sleep does not mean giving up on rest or neglecting our health. On the contrary, it means releasing the anxiety and expectation that sleep must occur in a particular way. It's about finding peace in the process, knowing that sleep will come when the time is right, without the need to force it. In this state of acceptance, the body and mind relax, creating the optimal conditions for sleep to naturally emerge. Surrendering to the flow of sleep. Incorporating anatta into our approach to sleep is a practice of surrender, surrendering to the natural rhythm of the body and mind. Just as we surrender to the rising and setting of the sun, to the changing of seasons, we must also surrender to the natural process of sleep. When we try to control the process, we resist the flow of life. But when we allow sleep to come naturally, we align ourselves with life's inherent flow, creating the conditions for restful, healing sleep. This surrender is not about passivity. It's about trust, trusting that the body and mind know what they need and will rest when they are ready. When we trust in the impermanence of all things, including our need for sleep, we release the tension that keeps us awake. This release of control allows us to experience peace even in the midst of restlessness, because we no longer define our worth by how well we sleep. Mindfulness and the acceptance of restlessness. Mindfulness is the key practice that helps us let go of our attachment to sleep and to the fixed self. When we lie in bed, it is common for our minds to race with thoughts and worries. We may find ourselves thinking about the day ahead, replaying past conversations, or stressing about what we still need to do. This is when the illusion of control shows up most strongly. We begin to try to will ourselves into sleep, to force our minds to quiet, but this only creates more tension. Mindfulness invites us to release this tension by bringing our attention to the present moment, without judgment. Rather than fighting against the thoughts that arise, we simply observe them. We notice the thoughts, acknowledge them, and let them go, returning our focus to our breath or to the sensations in our body. This act of observing without attachment is what allows the mind to rest, because we no longer identify with the thoughts. We let them come and go like waves on the ocean without grasping at them. The more we practice mindfulness, the more we release the grip of the ego, the part of us that insists on controlling, judging, and defining. Instead, we begin to rest in the present moment, accepting whatever arises, whether it is restlessness, discomfort, or peace. This acceptance is the foundation for deep, restful sleep. When we let go of the need for things to be perfect, we allow ourselves to rest in whatever state we find ourselves in, letting go of attachment to a fixed self. The concept of anatta teaches us that our identity is not fixed, nor is it tied to our thoughts, feelings, or experiences. In the same way that we release our attachment to sleep, we can release our attachment to the idea of a fixed self. The ego, the part of us that clings to a particular identity, is an illusion. It tells us that we must always be this way, always strong, always capable, always in control. But this attachment to a fixed self creates suffering because it denies the truth of our impermanence. When we let go of the idea of a permanent self, we begin to accept ourselves as fluid, changing, and in a constant state of growth. We no longer define ourselves by our mistakes or successes. We stop measuring our worth by how we perform, by how we sleep, by how others perceive us. We are free to be who we are, without the pressure to live up to a rigid sense of identity. Letting go of this attachment is deeply liberating. It means that we no longer have to prove ourselves, to strive for an idealized version of who we think we should be. Instead, we can rest in the knowledge that we are already whole, already complete, just as we are. This acceptance of our impermanent nature allows us to be at peace with ourselves, without the need to constantly seek validation or approval. The connection between letting go and restful sleep. The practice of letting go, of releasing the attachment to control, to perfection, and to a fixed self, directly influences our ability to sleep peacefully. When we accept the impermanence of sleep, our bodies and minds can relax, knowing that we don't need to force or control the process. When we let go of the need for perfect rest, we make space for the sleep we need. Sleep is a natural process, and like all natural processes, it cannot be forced. When we release the need for control, we create the conditions for rest to come effortlessly. This is where the concept of anatta, the illusion of a fixed self, becomes particularly powerful. When we let go of our attachment to a rigid sense of who we are or how things should be, we stop resisting the flow of life, including the flow of sleep. The more we embrace the idea of impermanence, the easier it becomes to accept whatever comes, whether it is restlessness or sleep. We no longer need to judge ourselves for not falling asleep immediately, nor do we need to strive for a perfect night's rest. Instead, we allow sleep to unfold naturally, in its own time, applying the teachings of anatta to our daily lives. The practice of anatta is not limited to our sleep. It can be applied to every aspect of our lives. When we release the attachment to a fixed self, we free ourselves from the constant pressure to be something we are not. We stop defining ourselves by our achievements, our failures, or our perceptions of what others think of us. This liberation creates the space for peace and rest in all areas of life. When we let go of the need to control everything, from our thoughts to our emotions to our circumstances, we open ourselves to the natural flow of life. Just as we can rest peacefully when we release our attachment to sleep, we can also live peacefully when we release our attachment to outcomes, to expectations, and to rigid self-concepts. Life becomes easier, more fluid, and more enjoyable when we stop fighting against what is and start embracing the impermanence of all things. The teachings of anatta, the understanding of the illusion of the fixed self, invite us to live more freely, to experience life more fully, and to rest deeply. By letting go of attachment and surrendering to the flow of life, we can find the peace we seek, both in our sleep and in our waking hours. As we embrace the impermanence of all things, we find that rest comes not from striving but from acceptance. Sleep, like life, is temporary. It is fleeting, but in that fleeting nature lies its beauty and its gift. By letting go of the illusion of control and the attachment to a fixed self, we allow ourselves to experience life and sleep in its most natural, peaceful form. Part 7. Interconnectedness, the web of life. Dependent origination, everything is connected. In the Buddha's teachings, one of the most profound insights is the principle of pratityasamutpada, or dependent origination. This fundamental doctrine teaches that everything in existence arises not in isolation, but through interdependent causes and conditions. The reality we experience is not a series of independent events, but rather a complex web where every thread, every moment, is intimately connected with every other. There is no single entity that exists by itself, independent of all else. This insight begins with the recognition that nothing exists in a vacuum. Our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, even our very existence, are the result of countless causes and conditions. Our lives are not isolated occurrences, but part of a vast, interconnected network of events, relationships, and circumstances. The Buddha explained that all phenomena arise through causes, and these causes are themselves the result of other causes. This continuous chain of cause and effect is the nature of existence. When we reflect on the world through the lens of dependent origination, we begin to see the web that binds all things together. Every action we take, every thought we think, ripples through the interconnected web of life, affecting others in ways we may not immediately understand. Similarly, everything that happens to us is the result of past causes, both our own and the actions of others. This awareness is not just an intellectual understanding, but a deep, emotional recognition of our place in the world, our connection to all beings, and the flow of life that unites us. This teaching dissolves the illusion of separation, the idea that we are independent, isolated beings. In truth, we are part of a vast and ever-evolving web, each of us contributing to and being shaped by the web of life. When we recognize this interconnectedness, we begin to understand that our happiness, peace, and suffering are not isolated to ourselves. They are connected to the happiness, peace, and suffering of others. In recognizing this interconnectedness, we foster a sense of compassion, not just for others but for ourselves. We realize that our actions, no matter how small, have ripple effects, and that the world around us shapes who we are. This understanding is the key to transforming our experience of life, and as we will see, it is especially relevant when it comes to our experience of sleep. When we recognize that we are connected to everything and everyone, we begin to see our place in the world more clearly. We stop feeling like mere individuals battling alone through life. We begin to feel part of a greater flow, part of a shared journey with others, and this sense of belonging brings deep peace, fostering compassion and inner peace through interconnectedness. To fully grasp the power of interconnectedness, it is important to understand the role of compassion. Compassion is the natural response to recognizing that we are all part of the same web. When we see that our actions affect others and that their actions affect us, we develop a deep sense of care and responsibility for one another. Compassion arises from the recognition that suffering is not isolated. It is shared. When we are suffering, we are not alone in that experience. Others, too, are facing challenges and difficulties. This awareness opens the door to empathy, kindness, and understanding. By understanding that we are interconnected, we no longer see ourselves as separate from others. We realize that the well-being of others is tied to our own, and vice versa. This awareness of interconnectedness has a profound impact on how we interact with the world. It softens our hearts, helping us to respond to the suffering of others with kindness, without judgment. It also teaches us to be kinder to ourselves, as we recognize that we, too, are part of this web and deserving of compassion. In a world where it is easy to feel isolated or disconnected, The recognition of interconnectedness is a powerful antidote to loneliness and anxiety. It reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles, that we are part of a larger, shared experience. This realization creates an inner peace that comes from knowing we are part of something greater, something much larger than ourselves. This peace is not just intellectual, it is felt deeply in the heart, in the understanding that we belong, that we are part of the whole. Application for sleep. Understanding interconnectedness has profound implications for how we approach sleep. Often, when we lie in bed, we struggle with thoughts of isolation or restlessness. Our minds race with worries, regrets, and anxieties, and sleep feels like a distant hope. But when we bring the understanding of pratityasamutpada, the idea that everything is interconnected, into our awareness before sleep, we can shift our experience profoundly. Sleep, like all things, arises from causes and conditions. It is not something we can force into being, nor something we can control completely. It arises naturally when we allow ourselves to be at peace with the world and with our place within it. Sleep, in a sense, is an expression of the interconnected web of life. It is a moment of rest, a pause in the flow of life, and just as everything in the world is connected, so too is our experience of rest. Before sleep, we can take a moment to reflect on our connection to the world. We can recognize that, just as we are part of the vast web of life, so is sleep. Sleep is not something we do alone. It is something that arises through the balance of body, mind, and spirit, all interconnected. Just as we trust that the sun will set and rise again, we can trust that sleep will come when the time is right, as part of the natural cycle of life. This practice of reflection can help us release the pressure we place on ourselves to achieve sleep. Instead of grasping at sleep or trying to control it, we can allow it to arise naturally. We can soften our attachment to the idea of perfect rest and instead embrace the process, trusting that our bodies, just like the world around us, know when to rest. Bedtime reflection on interconnectedness. As you prepare for sleep tonight, I invite you to reflect on your connection to the world. Take a moment to consider the countless causes and conditions that have brought you to this moment. Think about the people in your life, the experiences you've had, the world around you. All of it plays a part in shaping the present moment. Your breath, your body, your thoughts, all of these arise due to countless conditions. Sleep is not an isolated experience. It too is part of the flow of life. Reflect on the interconnectedness of all things. As you breathe in, acknowledge the air that is shared by all living beings. As you exhale, release any thoughts of separation, knowing that you are part of a vast and intricate web. In this moment, there is no you separate from the world. There is only this moment, this breath, and this sleep that is coming to you as a gift, naturally unfolding in the great web of life. Let go of any concerns about how you should be sleeping and simply trust the process. Trust that sleep, like all things, will come when the conditions are right. By embracing your connection to the world, you can allow yourself to rest, knowing that you are part of something much greater than yourself, that you belong, that you are safe, and that sleep will come as a natural part of the ebb and flow of life, creating peace through interconnectedness. The recognition of interconnectedness offers us a profound path to peace. When we see ourselves as part of the larger web of life, we can release the feeling of being separate or isolated. We can let go of the anxiety and stress that arise from clinging to the idea of a fixed, independent self. This realization allows us to soften into the present moment, trusting that everything, including sleep, unfolds as it should. When we understand that our experience of sleep is interconnected with everything else in the world, we are able to rest more deeply. We let go of the need to control and instead accept that sleep, like all things, is part of the natural flow. The more we reflect on our connection to the world, the more peace we bring into our lives and into our rest. The natural flow of sleep as a reflection of interconnectedness. Sleep, as we know it, is often thought of as a time of separation, a time when we retreat from the world, when we disconnect in order to rest. But in reality, sleep is as interconnected with life as any other aspect of our existence. It is not a passive withdrawal, but a natural process that arises from the conditions we create in our minds and bodies. Just as we cannot isolate a flower from the soil it grows in, we cannot separate sleep from the life it flows through. It is part of the natural ebb and flow of energy, just as we are. The interconnectedness of all things teaches us that sleep is not something we achieve by force, but something that arises naturally when the conditions are right. Just as the sun rises and sets without our intervention, sleep comes when we allow it to, when we stop forcing, striving, and clinging. The more we understand that sleep, like all things, is interconnected with the flow of life, the easier it becomes to surrender to it, to let go of our need to control and simply rest in the natural rhythm of life, cultivating inner peace through acceptance. When we apply the concept of interconnectedness to our experience of sleep, we begin to understand that our rest is not isolated from the rest of our lives. Our thoughts, emotions, and physical state throughout the day all contribute to the state of our mind and body at night. If we are anxious, stressed, or overwhelmed during the day, those emotions and thoughts carry over into the evening, making it difficult for us to rest. But here's where interconnectedness offers a powerful shift. When we realize that everything we experience is part of a larger web, and that our rest is part of this web, we can begin to relax into it. We understand that we are not fighting against life but flowing with it. We are not separate from the rest of the world. Our sleep, our body, our mind, all of these are part of a vast and interconnected whole. To foster peace before sleep, we can practice releasing any lingering thoughts or worries that we have carried with us through the day. Rather than clinging to these thoughts, we can allow them to pass, knowing that just as they arose, they will also fade. By cultivating this awareness of impermanence, we create a peaceful space for sleep to naturally unfold. Letting go of our attachment to how we should sleep allows us to be present in the moment. We stop resisting the natural flow of our thoughts and emotions and allow them to settle. This acceptance is what creates the peaceful foundation for sleep. Instead of seeing sleep as something we must control or perfect, we begin to see it as a natural process, just as interconnected with the flow of life as everything else. When we embrace sleep in this way, we invite it to come easily, without force or frustration. A bedtime reflection on interconnectedness. Before you drift off to sleep tonight, I invite you to take a moment to reflect on the interconnectedness of your life. Think of the many causes and conditions that have brought you to this moment, the experiences you've had, the people who have shaped you, the relationships that have influenced your journey. Recognize that sleep, like everything else, arises from these conditions. It is a process that flows naturally from the ebb and flow of life. Take a deep breath and acknowledge the interconnectedness of all things. With each inhale, recognize that the air you breathe has been shared by countless beings. As you exhale, release any sense of separation, knowing that you are part of the same web of life. Your body, your mind, and your breath are all interconnected with the world around you. Now, as you lie in bed, consider how the world, in all its vastness, is also connected to your ability to rest. The warmth of your blankets, the comfort of your body, the rhythm of your breath, all of these are part of the intricate dance that allows sleep to come. Your sleep is not an isolated event. It is part of the larger web of life, a process that unfolds in harmony with the world. Allow yourself to rest in the knowledge that you are not alone. You are part of a larger, interconnected whole, and sleep will come when the time is right. There is no need to strive, no need to force. Simply allow yourself to let go, to trust in the process, and to embrace the flow of life as it unfolds. The healing power of interconnectedness. As you continue to reflect on your interconnectedness with the world, you may begin to feel a sense of peace that comes from realizing that you are not isolated. You are part of the vast, interconnected web of life. This realization creates a deep sense of belonging and comfort, knowing that you are held in the embrace of something larger than yourself. When we understand that we are connected to everything, we also understand that our suffering and joy are not ours alone. They are shared by all beings. This recognition brings us a sense of compassion for ourselves and others. We begin to realize that our emotions, our struggles, and our triumphs are not isolated events. They are part of the collective human experience. And as we begin to embrace our interconnectedness, we open ourselves to healing not just for ourselves, but for the world around us. This is the power of interconnectedness. It allows us to see ourselves in others and others in ourselves. It teaches us that we are not separate from the world, but intricately woven into it. It helps us release the anxiety and isolation that come from feeling alone and unsupported. And it opens our hearts to compassion, both for ourselves and for others. When we carry this understanding of interconnectedness into our sleep, we let go of the illusion of separation. We trust that, just as we are part of the flow of life, so too is sleep part of this natural rhythm. We no longer need to control it, for we know that it is connected to us, just as we are connected to everything else. Living with interconnectedness, a call to peace. The teachings of interconnectedness are not just about how we sleep, but how we live. When we live with the understanding that everything is connected, that our actions, our thoughts, and our emotions ripple out into the world, we begin to approach life with more compassion, humility, and peace. This understanding helps us to live more consciously, to be more aware of the impact we have on the world and on others. It teaches us that we are not isolated beings, but part of a larger whole. And when we understand this, we can begin to live in harmony with the world, trusting that everything is unfolding as it should. When we live with the knowledge of our interconnectedness, we no longer strive for perfection or control. We accept that life, like sleep, is fluid and ever-changing. And in this acceptance, we find peace that allows us to rest deeply, to sleep naturally, and to wake up with a heart full of compassion, ready to embrace the world with openness and understanding. Part 8. The role of mindfulness and compassion in peaceful sleep. Mindfulness practices. There are few experiences in life as universally sought after as a peaceful night's sleep. We long for it to close our eyes, let go of the day, and drift into restful, restorative slumber. Yet for many of us, the very process of trying to sleep becomes a struggle. Our minds race with thoughts of what we've done, what we have yet to do, or even the emotions that remain unresolved. As a result, sleep remains elusive and we toss and turn, unable to quiet the mental noise that keeps us awake. In these moments, one of the most effective tools we can use is mindfulness. Mindfulness, in its simplest form, is the practice of being fully present and aware of the moment, without judgment. It allows us to observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without being consumed by them. Rather than trying to push our thoughts away or control them, mindfulness helps us develop the ability to witness them, accept them, and release them when the time is right. The power of mindfulness as a tool for calming the mind before sleep is profound. It shifts our attention away from the noise of the world and the clutter of our minds, guiding us back to the simplicity of the present moment. Rather than falling into the trap of overthinking or worrying about things outside of our control, mindfulness allows us to bring our focus to what is happening right here and right now. To begin, one of the most accessible mindfulness practices is focusing on the breath. The breath is always with us, and it serves as a natural anchor to the present moment. In this practice, the goal is not to stop your thoughts or force yourself to sleep, but to gently guide your attention to the rhythm of your breath. By doing so, you can create a space of stillness within the mind, allowing sleep to follow naturally. A simple mindfulness practice before bed. As you prepare to sleep, find a comfortable position, either lying down on your bed or sitting in a relaxed posture. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths, allowing your body to relax with each exhalation. As you breathe in, feel the air fill your lungs. As you breathe out, let go of any tension or stress. Now bring your attention to the natural rhythm of your breath. Don't try to change it or control it, simply observe it. Notice the rise and fall of your chest or abdomen with each inhale and exhale. Be aware of the coolness of the air as it enters your nostrils and the warmth as it exits. Allow yourself to become fully immersed in the experience of breathing. As thoughts arise, and they will, gently acknowledge them without judgment. Perhaps a thought will come about something you did during the day or a worry about tomorrow. Instead of engaging with these thoughts or getting caught up in them, simply notice them and return your focus to your breath. You might silently say to yourself, "I am thinking," and then gently bring your attention back to your inhales and exhales. This practice is not about getting rid of thoughts or forcing them away, but rather about letting them pass without attachment. Just as clouds drift through the sky, your thoughts will come and go. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of them, and in this awareness, you create the space for your mind to rest. As you continue to focus on your breath, you may begin to notice your body becoming more relaxed. Any tension in your muscles or tightness in your body can begin to dissolve. With each breath, you allow yourself to release the weight of the day, preparing your body and mind for peaceful rest. You may find that as your breath deepens and your body relaxes, sleep comes naturally without struggle or force. Compassion for the self. While mindfulness is an essential tool for calming the mind before sleep, it is equally important to practice compassion for ourselves. Often, when we lie in bed, we are filled with self-criticism. We replay the day's events, focusing on mistakes we made or things we wish we had done differently. We judge ourselves harshly, thinking that we could have been better, smarter, or more productive. This self-criticism creates tension in our bodies and minds, making it harder to relax and fall asleep. Self-compassion, however, is the antidote to this. Self-compassion is the practice of treating ourselves with the same kindness, understanding, and care that we would offer to a friend. Instead of berating ourselves for perceived flaws or shortcomings, we acknowledge our imperfections with love and acceptance. We embrace ourselves as we are, recognizing that we are worthy of rest, peace, and kindness, just as we are. Before sleep, take a moment to reflect on your day, not with judgment but with kindness. As you lie in bed, gently bring to mind any moments from the day that you feel disappointed by or regret. Rather than criticizing yourself for these moments, offer yourself understanding and compassion. You might say something like, "I did the best I could today, given the circumstances," or "I am doing the best I can and I am worthy of rest." Self-compassion helps us release the tension we carry from our day. It helps us let go of the stories we tell ourselves about our inadequacy or our failures. When we practice self-compassion, we allow ourselves to rest in the knowing that we are enough, just as we are. We can let go of the need for perfection and simply be present with ourselves in a moment of kindness and care. Loving kindness meditation before sleep. One powerful way to cultivate self-compassion and inner peace before sleep is through the practice of loving kindness meditation, also known as metta meditation. Loving kindness meditation is the practice of generating feelings of goodwill, compassion, and love, both toward ourselves and others. It is a practice of opening our hearts and allowing ourselves to be filled with warmth and kindness, regardless of the challenges we may face. To practice loving kindness meditation before sleep, begin by sitting or lying in a comfortable position. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths, bringing your attention to the present moment. As you breathe in, imagine breathing in warmth and light, and as you exhale, imagine releasing any tension or negativity. Now begin by directing loving kindness toward yourself. Silently repeat phrases like, "May I be happy," "May I be at peace," "May I be free from suffering." Feel the warmth of these words as they radiate through your body and mind. Allow yourself to receive this love and kindness without judgment or resistance. Know that you are worthy of this compassion, just as you are. Once you have filled yourself with loving kindness, expand your meditation to include others. Begin with someone you love deeply, then extend the same wishes of happiness and peace to others, friends, family, even those with whom you may have conflicts. You can also send loving kindness to all beings everywhere, recognizing that all are deserving of happiness and peace. By the time you finish your meditation, your mind and body will be filled with a deep sense of warmth and peace. You have taken the time to cultivate love for yourself and for others, and this peace can now carry you into a restful night's sleep. The practice of loving kindness helps to soften the mind, release tension, and open the heart to the possibility of rest. The transformative power of mindfulness and compassion. When we bring mindfulness and self-compassion into our nighttime routine, we create the conditions for peaceful sleep. These practices help us to let go of the judgments and criticisms that keep us awake, and instead allow us to rest in the warmth of acceptance and love. By practicing mindfulness before sleep, we gently guide our minds away from the distractions and stresses of the day, creating a peaceful space where sleep can naturally unfold. Through mindfulness and compassion, we learn to accept ourselves without judgment. We understand that we are not defined by our flaws or imperfections, and we deserve rest, peace, and kindness, simply because we are human. These practices are not just tools for a good night's sleep. They are tools for living a peaceful, compassionate life, both when we are awake and when we are resting. In the end, the power of mindfulness and compassion is that they allow us to fully embrace the present moment. When we are present with our breath, with our bodies, and with our thoughts, we can let go of the past and the future and find peace in the here and now. And when we approach ourselves with love and kindness, we open our hearts to the peace and rest we deserve. So, as you lie down tonight, bring mindfulness to your breath and fill your heart with compassion. Let go of the pressures and expectations that weigh on you and allow yourself to rest in the natural rhythm of sleep. You are worthy of this peace. Mindfulness as a way of life. Mindfulness, as we've discussed, is the practice of being fully present, aware, and non-judgmental. This practice, when carried through to our moments of rest, allows us to disconnect from the constant stream of thoughts that often keep us awake at night. But mindfulness is not limited to just sleep. It is a practice that can be applied throughout the day in every thought, word, and action. When we learn to live with mindfulness, it becomes easier to relax, to find peace, and to rest, no matter what the circumstances are. By cultivating mindfulness, we create a relationship with ourselves and with the world that is grounded in acceptance. We stop trying to change everything around us or fix our thoughts and emotions. Instead, we simply observe them, understanding that they are temporary and do not define us. This radical acceptance creates space for true peace, both in the waking world and during sleep. In everyday life, mindfulness allows us to be more present in our interactions with others, to approach our work with focus and clarity, and to respond to stress with a calm and steady mind. These qualities naturally extend to our experience of sleep. When we bring mindfulness to our moments of rest, we do not need to force ourselves to sleep, but instead allow it to arise naturally as part of the flow of life. Compassion for ourselves, a deeply rooted practice. While mindfulness creates the space for peace and rest, it is self-compassion that nurtures our ability to fully embrace this peace. Self-compassion is the practice of treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a dear friend. It is about recognizing our own humanity, our struggles, our imperfections, and our emotional needs, and offering ourselves unconditional love and care. Before sleep, self-compassion becomes especially important. Many of us carry the weight of the day with us to bed, regrets, worries, unmet expectations. We replay mistakes or missed opportunities in our minds, berating ourselves for things we cannot change. But self-compassion teaches us that these thoughts do not define us. They are not the whole story of who we are. Our worth is not tied to our successes or failures, but to the simple fact that we are human. As you prepare for sleep tonight, take a moment to reflect on your day with kindness. Think about the things you accomplished, the challenges you faced, and the ways you showed up for yourself and others. Acknowledge that you did your best in every moment, and offer yourself the same grace you would offer to someone you love. Let go of any self-criticism or judgment, and instead rest in the understanding that you are enough just as you are. Self-compassion is not about ignoring our shortcomings or pretending that we are perfect. It is about accepting ourselves as we are, flaws and all. When we are kind to ourselves, we create the conditions for deep rest, because we release the mental and emotional weight that keeps us awake. Loving kindness meditation, a tool for peaceful sleep. Loving kindness meditation, or metta meditation, is a powerful practice that fosters both compassion for ourselves and for others. It involves silently repeating phrases of goodwill and love, sending these thoughts to ourselves, to others, and to all beings. In the context of sleep, loving kindness meditation can be particularly helpful in releasing any residual tension or negativity from the day and cultivating a sense of warmth, acceptance, and peace. To begin a loving kindness meditation before bed, find a comfortable position and close your eyes. Take a deep breath and allow yourself to settle into the present moment. Bring to mind someone you love deeply, a close friend, family member, or a beloved pet. Silently repeat the words, "May you be happy, may you be safe, may you be peaceful." Feel the warmth of these words as they fill your heart. As you breathe, imagine this love extending outward from you, enveloping that person in warmth and peace. Next, bring yourself into the practice. Offer the same loving kindness to yourself. May I be happy, may I be safe, may I be peaceful. Allow these words to sink deep into your heart. Let go of any self-judgment and simply be present with the love and kindness you deserve. This moment of self-compassion prepares you to release the mental and emotional noise that can keep you awake at night. Finally, extend loving kindness to others. You might think of someone you're struggling with, someone who has wronged you, or even a stranger. Send them the same goodwill. May you be happy, may you be safe, may you be peaceful. This practice of sending love to others, especially those with whom we have difficulty, helps to soften the heart and release any residual tension or anger. It creates a sense of connectedness and harmony that carries over into our sleep. By practicing loving kindness before sleep, we not only cultivate peace within ourselves, but we also deepen our sense of interconnectedness with others. It's a reminder that we are all deserving of rest, love, and peace, and that by extending kindness to others, we also create space for compassion toward ourselves. The interplay of mindfulness and compassion for restful sleep. Mindfulness and compassion are not separate practices. They are intertwined, each one supporting the other. Mindfulness allows us to observe our thoughts and feelings without attachment or judgment, while compassion provides the kindness and understanding that allow us to release them with love. Together, they create the conditions for restful, restorative sleep. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to let go of the need to control our thoughts and emotions. When we practice self-compassion, we soften the harsh judgments that keep us up at night, allowing ourselves to rest with acceptance and peace. The combination of these two practices creates an environment where sleep can come naturally, free from anxiety, self-criticism, or the need for perfection. These practices, when woven into our nightly routine, help us to cultivate a sense of inner peace that extends into every moment of our lives. As we approach our rest with mindfulness and compassion, we are not only creating the conditions for sleep, but we are also learning to live more fully, with a heart open to kindness, acceptance, and peace. A deepened relationship with rest. When we learn to approach sleep with mindfulness and compassion, we shift our relationship with rest. Sleep is no longer an obligation or a struggle, but a time of healing, restoration, and peace. It becomes a natural process, one that we can surrender to with ease, knowing that we have created the conditions for restful, peaceful sleep. The practice of mindfulness allows us to be present with our bodies and minds, observing without judgment. The practice of compassion helps us to release the weight of the day, to forgive ourselves for our mistakes, and to rest in the knowledge that we are enough. Together, These practices create a deep sense of peace that accompanies us as we close our eyes each night. As you settle into bed tonight, remember the power of mindfulness and compassion. Practice being present with your breath and offer yourself kindness and love. Let go of any expectations or judgments about your sleep and trust that rest will come naturally when the conditions are right. In that trust, you will find the peace you have been seeking. Part 9. The diamond within recognizing your innate peace. The Buddha nature. One of the most beautiful teachings in Buddhism is the concept of the Buddha nature. At the heart of this teaching lies the profound truth that within every human being exists an inherent state of peace, wisdom, and enlightenment. The Buddha nature is not something that we need to acquire or seek outside of ourselves. It is already present within us, buried beneath the layers of our thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Like a diamond waiting to be uncovered, this innate peace is always there, even when we cannot see it or feel it. The Buddha nature is the essence of who we truly are, beyond the ego, beyond the transient thoughts and emotions that constantly arise. It is the unshakable stillness, the profound wisdom, and the boundless compassion that is present at the core of our being. Just as a diamond is formed under immense pressure and hidden within the earth, our Buddha nature is often obscured by the struggles and challenges of life. But it is always there, waiting to be recognized and embraced. This recognition of our Buddha nature is not about becoming something we are not, but about remembering who we truly are. It is the awakening to the truth that peace, wisdom, and love are our birthright, not something we must strive for or achieve, but something that is intrinsic to our being. When we begin to recognize our Buddha nature, we also begin to realize that we are not separate from the world around us. The peace that resides within us is not only for ourselves, it is the same peace that connects all beings. When we cultivate this peace within, we radiate it outward, touching the lives of others and creating harmony in the world. Recognizing our Buddha nature is an act of self-liberation. It is the recognition that we are not our fears, our mistakes, or our doubts. We are not defined by our past experiences or our current circumstances. We are the diamond, pure, untarnished, and radiant in our true nature. And in this recognition, we find the freedom to rest deeply, to sleep peacefully, and to live with the fullness of who we are. Recognizing this innate peace, the path to restful sleep. When we recognize our Buddha nature, we unlock the door to a deeper sense of peace and tranquility. This recognition is not just an intellectual understanding, but a direct experience of the inner stillness that lies at the core of our being. As we begin to connect with this peace, we find that the external world, with its noise, distractions, and demands, has less power over us. We are no longer swayed by the ups and downs of life, because we know that the peace within us is unchanging and constant. This inner peace is the foundation for restful sleep. Sleep is often elusive because we are caught up in the turbulence of our minds, our worries, our fears, and our expectations. We are unable to rest because we are constantly searching for peace outside of ourselves, chasing after external solutions to internal unrest. But when we recognize that peace is already within us, we no longer need to chase it. We can rest in the knowledge that peace, like the diamond within, is always present, even when it feels hidden. The Buddha nature offers us the freedom to let go of the struggle for perfection and control. When we recognize our innate peace, we stop trying to force sleep to happen. Instead, we allow it to arise naturally, just as the diamond, though it may be buried, is always waiting to be uncovered. This freedom from the need to control is what allows sleep to come effortlessly. We no longer feel the pressure of needing to sleep in a certain way, and in that release, we find the deep, restorative rest we crave. Practical exercise, a guided visualization. Now, let's take a moment to engage in a practice that can help us connect with our innate peace, the Buddha nature, and allow it to guide us into restful sleep. This visualization will help you uncover the diamond within, cultivate peace, and allow that peace to shine through every thought and feeling. Find a quiet space where you can be comfortable. Lie down in your bed or sit in a relaxed position. Close your eyes and take a deep, gentle breath in, allowing your body to relax with each exhalation. With each breath, feel yourself becoming more grounded, more centered. Now, bring your awareness to your heart center, the place where your true self resides. Imagine that deep within your chest, there is a small, radiant diamond. It may appear dim at first, perhaps hidden by layers of dust or clouded by the worries of the day. But with each breath you take, imagine that the diamond begins to shine brighter. As you breathe in, the diamond begins to glow with a soft, warm light. As you exhale, this light expands, growing brighter and clearer, filling your body and mind with a sense of deep peace. Now, allow this light to gently spread through your body. Visualize the light of your inner diamond moving down your arms, your legs, and your torso. Feel it filling every part of you with warmth and relaxation. With each exhale, release any tension, any thoughts, or any emotions that may be lingering in your mind. Let them dissolve in the light of your inner peace. As you continue to breathe deeply, imagine the light of your inner diamond expanding beyond your body, enveloping your entire being. You are surrounded by the soft, warm glow of peace. This light is your Buddha nature, always present, always radiant, always still. Allow yourself to rest in the knowing that this peace is yours. You do not need to seek it outside of yourself. It is already here within you. Now, gently bring your awareness to the rhythm of your breath. With each inhale, feel yourself drawing in more peace. With each exhale, let go of any tension, anxiety, or worries. Allow your breath to become deeper, slower, more relaxed. Trust that sleep will come naturally when the time is right, for you are already in touch with the peace that resides within you. As you continue to rest in this peaceful awareness, know that the diamond within you is always there. It is always shining, always waiting for you to notice it. When you are ready, let this peace guide you into restful sleep, knowing that you are whole, you are at peace, and you are loved. The diamond within resting in your true nature. When we take the time to connect with our inner peace, our Buddha nature, we find that we no longer need to search for it. It is not something we need to achieve or earn. It is already within us, waiting to be recognized. As we cultivate this inner peace, we begin to experience the freedom that comes from letting go of the need to control, to strive, and to force things into being. We can rest deeply in the knowledge that peace is not something we must chase. It is already here, always present, just like the diamond within us. In recognizing the Buddha nature, we also recognize that we are part of something much larger than ourselves. We are connected to all beings, to all things, and to the flow of life itself. This sense of interconnectedness deepens our understanding of our innate peace. It helps us let go of the idea of separation and embrace the truth that we are part of the same flow that moves through the world. We are not isolated. We are the diamond, radiant, whole, and free. As we rest in this awareness, sleep becomes not a goal to achieve, but a natural part of the peace we already possess. Sleep comes not through force, but through surrender to the truth of who we are and to the rhythm of life. The more we recognize our Buddha nature, the more we allow it to guide us into rest and renewal. Resting in the diamond within the key to effortless sleep. As we continue to explore the depths of the Buddha nature, it becomes increasingly clear that the recognition of this inner peace is not just a concept, but a deeply transformative experience. When we recognize that we are not separate from the peace and wisdom that reside within us, we stop viewing sleep as an external achievement. Instead, we begin to see sleep as a natural process, a sacred part of life's flow, intimately connected with our deeper nature. Sleep, like all things, is impermanent. It is a process that comes and goes, rising and falling like the tides of the ocean. Yet when we connect with our Buddha nature, the diamond within us, we discover a profound peace that transcends the need to control, to perfect, or to strive. This peace is always present, waiting for us to stop seeking and simply rest in it. It is in this restful awareness that we find the freedom to release the anxieties that keep us awake at night. When we are at peace with who we are, we no longer need to prove anything to ourselves. We no longer need to fix or change anything. Sleep becomes a gentle companion, not something to be forced, but something that arrives naturally when we allow it. Breaking free from the struggle for sleep. The struggle for sleep is often rooted in a deeper need to control. We try to control our environment, our bodies, and even our minds, believing that by doing so, we can force ourselves into a state of rest. But this act of trying to control only creates tension, resistance, and more frustration. When we recognize our innate Buddha nature, we release the need to control sleep. We recognize that rest is not something we achieve, but something we allow. Just as we cannot control the rising and setting of the sun, we cannot control sleep. We must simply allow it to unfold in its own time, trusting that it will come when we are ready. This shift in perspective is deeply freeing. By recognizing the interconnectedness of all things and the impermanence of our thoughts, feelings, and circumstances, we let go of the illusion of control. Sleep, like all things, is part of the flow of life, and when we align ourselves with this flow, rest comes effortlessly. When we surrender to the natural rhythm of life, we find that sleep comes not by force but by grace. It is a natural gift, not something we need to fight for or chase after. The more we recognize the peace that resides within us, the more we can rest in it, and the more our body and mind naturally enter the state of deep, restorative sleep, connecting with the inner diamond before sleep. Now, let's take a moment to engage in a simple but powerful exercise to deepen our connection with the diamond within us, our innate peace. This practice will help us cultivate the peace that is always present, and it will guide us into a restful, healing sleep. Find a quiet space where you can relax completely. Lie down in a comfortable position, allowing your body to sink into the bed or the surface beneath you. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths, letting go of any tension in your body with each exhale. As you breathe, imagine your body becoming softer, lighter, more at ease. Now, bring your attention to your heart center, the place where your Buddha nature resides. Visualize a radiant diamond deep within your chest. At first, it may appear small, perhaps clouded or hidden by layers of stress or worry. But with each breath, imagine that the diamond begins to shine brighter and clearer. Feel the warmth and radiance of this light filling your body. With every inhale, this light grows more luminous, and with every exhale, it expands further, soothing and calming every part of you. As you focus on this inner light, remind yourself that this diamond, this peace, is always within you. It is not something you need to seek outside yourself. It is your true nature, already present, waiting to be recognized. Allow this light to fill your mind, your heart, and your entire body with peace. As you breathe, feel this peace dissolving any tension, any anxiety, any restlessness that you may be holding onto. Allow it to wash over you, letting go of all worries about sleep, knowing that you are already connected to the peace that resides within. With every breath, you feel more relaxed, more at ease. Your body and mind are aligning with the flow of life, and in this moment, sleep becomes a natural extension of this peace. You are no longer fighting to rest, but allowing rest to come to you as part of the interconnectedness of all things, allowing the peace within to guide your sleep. As you continue to rest in the light of your inner diamond, remember that this peace is not fleeting. It is not something that comes and goes with external circumstances. This peace, this Buddha nature, is unchanging and constant. It is always there, even in moments of restlessness. By connecting with this peace before sleep, we can release the need to control or force sleep and simply allow it to come naturally. When we recognize the diamond within us, we no longer view sleep as a goal to be reached, but as a natural part of the ebb and flow of life. We release the attachment to having perfect sleep and allow ourselves to rest in whatever state arises. We trust that sleep will come when the conditions are right, just as the diamond shines when we stop hiding it beneath layers of doubt or fear. This practice of letting go, of releasing the need for perfection, of surrendering to the natural rhythm of rest, creates the conditions for peaceful sleep. As you rest tonight, hold onto the awareness of your inner diamond. Let this awareness guide you into sleep, knowing that you are already at peace, that you are already whole, and that rest will come when it is ready. The liberation of resting in your true nature, the recognition of your Buddha nature, your inner diamond, brings with it the liberation of letting go of the need to control your sleep. You no longer need to force yourself to rest or strive for the perfect night's sleep. Instead, you simply rest in the knowing that peace is already within you, and that sleep, like all things, is impermanent and will come when the time is right. This liberation is deeply peaceful and restful in itself. By recognizing the diamond within, you also begin to see that your sleep is not separate from the flow of life. It is part of the same interconnected web of existence that sustains all beings. Just as you are connected to the world around you, you are connected to your own rest. Sleep becomes a beautiful surrender, not a struggle, and in that surrender, you find the deep rest and healing your body and mind need, resting in the knowledge of the diamond within. As you prepare for sleep tonight, take a moment to acknowledge your Buddha nature. Recognize that the peace you seek is not external but always present within you. Visualize the radiant diamond of your true self, shining with light and warmth. Let this light fill your body, calm your mind, and guide you into a peaceful sleep. Trust that you do not need to chase after sleep, but that it will come naturally when you align yourself with the peace within. When we rest in the knowledge of our innate peace, sleep becomes effortless. We no longer need to struggle against the currents of our thoughts and emotions. We simply allow ourselves to rest, knowing that we are connected to a greater flow, and that sleep, like all things, will come when we surrender to the natural rhythm of life. In this surrender, we find peace, deep, restorative sleep, and the quiet knowing that we are whole, we are enough, and that the peace we seek is already within us. As you drift into sleep tonight, carry the light of your inner diamond with you and rest in the knowledge that peace is your true nature. Part 10. Final thoughts resting in the present moment, the final path to peace. As we reach the end of this journey together, it becomes clear that the path to deep, restorative sleep is not found in the external world. It is not something we can grasp, chase after, or force into being. The true path to peaceful sleep and to peace in life is found in the present moment. In each breath we take, in each moment of stillness, in each moment of acceptance, we have the opportunity to rest fully, to release the pressures of the day, and to rest in the natural rhythm of life. The Buddha's teachings consistently remind us that peace is not something to be attained through effort or striving. It is not a destination that we must reach after a long and difficult journey. Peace is something that exists right here, right now, in the present moment. When we stop seeking peace in the future, when we stop striving for the perfect night's sleep, and when we let go of the expectations we place upon ourselves, we create the conditions for peace to emerge naturally. This is the final path to deep sleep, embracing the present moment. When we let go of our attachment to how sleep should be, when we stop comparing ourselves to others or judging ourselves for not sleeping perfectly, we open ourselves to the possibility of true rest. Sleep becomes not something to control, but something to allow, something to surrender to. When we rest in the present moment, without judgment, without expectation, sleep comes naturally. It is a gift that arises when we stop forcing it and allow ourselves to be fully present. In the same way that we learn to rest in the present moment for sleep, we can carry this practice throughout our waking lives. The present moment is the only moment we ever truly have. The past is gone, the future is unknown, and all we have is the here and now. This is where true peace lies. And by learning to embrace this moment with acceptance and mindfulness, we create the conditions for peace in every aspect of our lives, from our thoughts and emotions to our relationships and actions. Encouragement for future practices. As you embark on this journey of peace and restful sleep, It is important to remember that the practices we have discussed are not meant to be one-time solutions. They are tools for life, and like any tool, they require regular practice to be truly effective. The more we practice mindfulness, compassion, and acceptance, the easier it becomes to live in harmony with the present moment, and the more naturally sleep will come to us. The path to peace is not linear. There will be nights when rest comes easily and effortlessly, and there will be nights when sleep seems elusive. This is a natural part of the journey, but with patience and practice, we can learn to rest in the present moment without struggle or resistance. We can learn to embrace each night, each breath, as an opportunity to reconnect with our inner peace. I encourage you to return to these teachings regularly, whether it's through the mindfulness practices we've explored, the loving-kindness meditations, or the simple act of being present with your breath before sleep. These practices will continue to nurture your inner peace and guide you toward restful, restorative sleep. The more you practice, the more deeply you will experience the peace that lies within you, and the more naturally sleep will flow into your life, inviting you to continue this peaceful journey. As you continue on this journey toward peaceful sleep and inner peace, know that this is just the beginning. The teachings we have explored together, mindfulness, compassion, acceptance, and interconnectedness, are not just practices for sleep. They are practices for life. When we cultivate peace in our minds, in our hearts, and in our sleep, we bring that peace into every aspect of our waking lives. We create a life that is more connected, more peaceful, and more present. Sleep is not just a time for rest. It is a time for healing, for restoration, and for reconnecting with the inner peace that is always present within us. When we approach sleep with mindfulness and compassion, we allow ourselves to rest in the natural flow of life. And as we do so, we awaken to a deeper sense of peace that transcends the boundaries of our sleep and extends into every moment of our lives. If you found these teachings helpful, I invite you to subscribe and continue this journey with us. There is much more to explore, much more to learn, and much more peace to discover. Together, we will continue to cultivate the practices that bring us closer to the peace that lies within. I look forward to guiding you in future teachings, helping you deepen your connection to your true nature, and bringing you closer to the peaceful, restful sleep you deserve. In the fast-paced world we live in, where everything seems to be moving faster than we can catch up, it's easy to lose sight of one of the most important aspects of life: inner peace. We often feel disconnected from ourselves, overwhelmed by the demands of daily life, and anxious about things we cannot control. One of the biggest struggles many face is the inability to sleep well, to rest deeply, and to recover mentally and physically from the day. The restless mind, full of worries, anxieties, and unfulfilled desires, keeps us awake at night, robbing us of the deep rest we need to thrive. Yet, the key to overcoming this struggle, to unlocking restful sleep and a deeper sense of inner peace, lies not in the outside world but within us. Throughout this journey, we've explored powerful Buddhist teachings that guide us towards understanding and embracing the natural flow of life. The story we've shared together is not just a guide to better sleep, but a deeper invitation to understand ourselves, to accept the impermanence of life, and to realize that the peace we seek is not something to be attained, but something to be recognized and embraced. The teachings we've explored, mindfulness, compassion, the middle way, the illusion of self, are all interconnected, and when practiced together, they can lead us to a life of peace, calm, and rest. The Buddha's teachings on the nature of suffering and the impermanence of all things teach us that peace does not come from avoiding or resisting life's challenges. It comes from accepting life as it is, in all its beauty and imperfection. The more we try to control the uncontrollable, the more we struggle. But when we surrender to the natural flow of life, when we release the need for perfection and allow ourselves to simply be, peace comes naturally. The journey to restful sleep, like the journey to inner peace, is not about achieving a perfect outcome, but about letting go of the need to control everything. In the story we've shared, we've learned that mindfulness is a powerful tool, for quieting the mind before sleep. By simply being present with our breath, observing our thoughts without judgment, and accepting the impermanence of our mental and emotional states, we can create the conditions for restful sleep. Compassion for ourselves is equally important. By practicing self-compassion, we release the harsh judgments and self-criticism that keep us awake and replace them with kindness and acceptance. Finally, recognizing the Buddha nature, the innate peace and wisdom that resides within each of us, allows us to let go of the struggle for control and rest in the knowledge that peace is already within us, waiting to be acknowledged. The practice of mindfulness and self-compassion is not something we only apply before sleep. It is a way of life. The more we incorporate these practices into our daily routine, the more naturally they will extend to our moments of rest. When we approach each day with mindfulness, when we approach ourselves with compassion, we begin to shift the way we live, work, and sleep. Peace becomes a natural outcome, not something we must strive for or force into being. By recognizing that sleep is a natural part of life's flow, like every other aspect of existence, we can let go of our attachment to the perfect sleep and simply allow rest to come when the time is right. When we stop chasing sleep, when we stop measuring our worth by how well we rest, we find that sleep comes effortlessly. In this surrender, we find the deep rest and restoration that we've been seeking all along. Lessons from the story, the path to peaceful sleep in life. The story we've shared brings with it several important lessons that extend far beyond sleep. These lessons can be applied to every aspect of our lives, from our relationships to our work, to how we approach our own personal growth. Let's summarize the key takeaways and how you can apply them to your own life. Embrace the present moment. At the core of all the teachings explored in this journey is the idea of living fully in the present moment. The past is gone and the future has yet to come. Sleep, just like life, happens in the present. By learning to embrace the now, we stop chasing after perfect outcomes and start living with acceptance. The more we practice mindfulness, the more we create space for peace, both in our waking life and in our sleep. The act of being present, not just before sleep, but throughout our day, allows us to handle stress, anxiety, and restlessness with grace and ease. Let go of the illusion of control. One of the most profound teachings we've learned is that the need to control everything, including sleep, leads to more tension and anxiety. We often try to control our sleep by obsessing over how much rest we should be getting, or by forcing ourselves to fall asleep in a certain way. Instead, we need to trust that sleep will come when the conditions are right. This is true not only for sleep but for all areas of life. When we let go of the need to control, we free ourselves from unnecessary stress and allow things to unfold naturally. Practice self-compassion. Self-compassion is one of the most important aspects of the journey toward inner peace and restful sleep. So often, we are our harshest critics, replaying mistakes from the day and judging ourselves for perceived shortcomings. But when we practice kindness towards ourselves, when we treat ourselves as we would a dear friend, we let go of the self-judgment and release the tension it creates. By offering ourselves compassion and love, we make room for rest, healing, and peace. Recognize the interconnectedness of all things. The principle of interconnectedness teaches us that everything is connected: our thoughts, our actions, our relationships, and our experiences. When we understand that we are not separate from the world around us, we let go of the illusion of isolation and self-centeredness. This recognition fosters compassion for others and a deeper connection to our own inner peace. When we rest in the knowledge of our interconnectedness, we create harmony in our lives and in our sleep. Recognize your Buddha nature. Finally, recognizing that peace, wisdom, and compassion already reside within us as part of our Buddha nature is one of the most liberating realizations we can make. We are not defined by our thoughts, our fears, or our failures. At our core, we are pure, radiant beings deserving of rest, peace, and love. When we connect with this inner peace, we free ourselves from the struggle for perfection, allowing sleep to come naturally and bringing greater peace into every aspect of our lives. Applying these lessons to your life. So, how can you apply these lessons to your own life? Here are a few practical steps you can take. Practice mindfulness daily. Begin by incorporating mindfulness into your daily routine. Whether it's during meals, work, or even conversations, bring your full attention to the present moment. Allow yourself to be fully engaged with whatever you are doing without judgment or distraction. Embrace imperfection. Let go of the need for everything to be perfect, including your sleep. Accept that there will be nights when sleep comes easily and nights when it doesn't. Trust that your body knows what it needs and allow rest to come naturally. Cultivate compassion. Practice self-compassion by speaking kindly to yourself. When you make mistakes, treat yourself with understanding and love rather than harsh judgment. Extend that same compassion to others. Release control. Trust the natural flow of life. Let go of the need to control everything, from your sleep to your circumstances. Trust that everything is unfolding as it should, and allow yourself to be at peace with the present moment. Connect with your Buddha nature. Spend time each day reflecting on your inherent peace. Know that you do not need to seek peace outside of yourself. It is already within you, waiting to be recognized. Now that we've journeyed through these teachings together, I would love to hear your thoughts. How do you approach sleep and inner peace? Do you struggle with the need for control, or do you find it easy to rest in the present moment? How has this story resonated with you, and how can you begin to apply these lessons in your own life? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I encourage everyone to engage with one another, to share experiences, and to learn from each other's insights. By sharing our experiences and perspectives, we can create a supportive community that helps us all grow and rest in the peace that is within us. If this journey has been helpful to you, and if you are ready to continue learning and growing, I invite you to subscribe to Buddhism in every moment. Your support will motivate us to continue creating content that fosters peace, mindfulness, and rest for all. Let's continue this peaceful journey together and explore even more profound teachings that can bring peace into our everyday lives. Thank you for being a part of this journey. May you find deep peace, restful sleep, and the freedom that comes with embracing the present moment.